You are now tuned in to the Chaotic Culture Podcast.
It's the KKP on your mother flipping airways. Hear the name ringing through the halls and the stairways. You were listening to a pod that can segue all the latest topics guaranteed to fill your headspace. It's a safe place to voice your opinion. Say what you feel just like you're a kid again. Kid to pro and friends black as obsidian. Chaotic culture, that's the world we living in. So what's the word?
Good morning, afternoon, and evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Chaotic Culture Podcast, the pod where chaos rules and black culture is supreme. The Chaotic Culture Podcast is brought to you by patreon.com/chaotic culture pod. Please be sure that you subscribe to the Patreon for early access to episodes, bonus content, and once again, to keep the lights on. Once again, we appreciate your support. This podcast will dive deep into modern black culture and how millennials and Gen Z can navigate the crazy parts, from finances, black business highlights, black professionals, community content creators, home ownership, HBCU, sports, black nerddom, anime, wrestling, and especially black music. If it encompasses black culture, we are going to cover it. Live from the 410, I am the host of the Chaotic Culture Podcast. This is your boy, Ked the Pro, a.k.a. the Calculated Millennial, a.k.a. the Encore Presentation. And where's my button? There we go. A.k.a. your favorite toxic adjacent king, Ked the Poet, Ked the Closer, all that good stuff. 843 is me. Baltimore is the place to be. Always chaotic, never toxic most days. And back again, once again, with your favorite black culture highlights and black culture shenanigans. Got a very, very, very special episode this week. This week, we are doing the return of MUZIK Roundtable. We're doing it a little bit differently. But before we get into the episode, obviously, we got to introduce the people who are a part of the pod, starting, of course, with the first co-host of the pod, of course, all the way down in Florida, the co-pilot, Law. Please go ahead and give your introduction, sir.
What's going on, y'all? Excuse the background noise. I'm outside watching my favorite football team shit the bed, absolutely. But nevertheless, on a rainy Sunday evening here in Jacksonville, Florida, you know, it's your boy Law checking in from the good old 904, doing, you know, the business of the nation, serving and swerving and not getting paid because of the shutdown. But that's neither here nor there.
Oh man, that definitely hurt my heart hearing that, bro. I was just getting ready to ask you about that question, but anyway, I do hope that you were doing well.
More is coming on that, but you know, nevertheless, I'm here. I'm well. I'm grateful and I'm thankful. I'm alive. I'm traversing the world the best I can. No health ailments, nothing truly wrong with me other than I'm not getting paid. But you know, fast forward.
Hey, that's real, man. Speaking of your football team, God, boy, I just tuned into the ESPN app because I was watching the game earlier, but 17-44. Oh my God, Cowboys. Oof. Look, I knew that the Cowboys had defensive problems all season, but damn, that's nasty.
As we speak, touchdown.
Oh, okay.
Let's go.
All right, well, y'all doing something. We're trying to. Not that it matters. I think the game is over, but hey, it is what it is, man. I guess 20 points is better than 27. But anyway, joining us again for the first time this season, of course, is the first lady of the pod, Sappy. Please go ahead and introduce yourself and welcome back.
Chillo. It's Sappy. No AKAs or hey. It's been a minute since I said that. That's crazy.
Yes.
But I am back. It's been a long time. But I'm doing all right. It's good to be back.
It is good to hear your voice again. Of course, well, we will get into the mental health segment here in just a moment. But, of course, we do have a special guest of the pod. For the very first time, I'm hosting my blood brother and frat brother, on this podcast. For those who don't know, of course, I talk about my family all the time, but I definitely had to bring them on for this episode, and it's again a very special occasion. So please, I would like to introduce the world to Dr. Nick, and if he would like to go ahead and give a little bit of an introduction for himself. So Nick, go ahead and do your thing, bro.
All right, first off, apologize if you guys, hear any reverb or anything like that. We're gonna work on that. But all I got to say is, brother, it's about time you called and said, "Hey, let me get on this here podcast." And you decided to put me on the podcast about one of our favorite groups of all time. You had better. You had no choice, brother.
No,
You had no choice. No, you had no choice. You had no choice. But having said that, yes, this is the legendary, what you guys have heard. No, I am not a myth. I am really Ked the Pro's blood brother, Dr. Nick, aka the Angry Doctor, and just sitting here, vibing, trying to save the world one tooth at a time, trying to keep the head on straight, trying to weed our way through all of the politics to make sure that people get the health care that they need. And it's supposed to be exceptional. Uh, we do know what's going on here in the States, but that's that's a whole nother episode.
Yeah.
Just a quick introduction. 843 is me sitting here right here. West Ashley is where I reside for now, working downtown at Federal Health Clinic. Shout out to Federal Health Clinic. If you know anybody in the 843 that needs their teeth pulled or their teeth cleaned or whatever, I got you. All right. So just a little bit about me. KJ, glad to be on here. Law, good to see you again. Sappy, I've never seen you or met you, and I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that I finally get to meet the first lady of the pod. I'm honored to be here, guys. Let's have a good show. I am excited.
Yes, man. First and foremost, yes, as you said, I had no choice. I had to invite you to this because you were the person who introduced me to this group as a kid. So it was like, why would I not invite him? But at the same time, yes, I definitely appreciate you joining us today, man. It's definitely going to be a great episode. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, before we get into the pod, we always start with a mental health check, making sure that everybody's okay. You heard a little bit about what's going on with law. Obviously, the political climate they're in right now is a little strenuous, to say the least. But I just wanted to make sure that, that everybody here was good despite all that. So with that being said, you could talk about it or you can't, have to talk about it. If you choose not to talk about your mental health, if you feel like you got past, it's fine. But, we're here to make sure that everybody here is in a good space. So Law, how have you been feeling?
Before we get Sappy?
Yeah, we introduced Sappy.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I won't go into depth. As you all know, like it's a lot of bickering between parties right now, and it's not really looking like it's going to be a point of coming to understanding. So I just have to take it one day at a time and just continue to hope that, some resolution comes. Outside of that, I mean, I'm good. Like, I've been working out, just doing more for my own mental. So, working out hard. I've been tapping into like the sauna, making sure, everything that I'm putting in is coming back out and just really focus on my health and my wellness, because at the end of the day I can't keep going if I don't do it in the right way. So mentally I'm good. Like I said, strenuous things with things that I can't control, I leave it to God at the end of the day.
Well, man, it's always good to hear your voice, and I'm glad that you know that you're doing well and trying to put your focus on other things, despite the fact that unfortunately you're not getting paid at the moment. But at any point in time that you need to lean on family, you can always call me or whatever you need. Even if I can't, like, obviously, I'm too broke to pay anybody right now. It's the way that the government is. I'm barely keeping afloat myself, but that being said, that's what family is for. So anytime that you just need to holler at me for something, you already know that you can just hit me up and be like, hey, we got to talk about this shit because this is crazy. So as always, man, my phone is open. Sappy,
I
how's your
appreciate
mental
that.
health been?
It's been going. I work in healthcare, so y'all know the stress is,
Yeah.
is constant. It's never ending. So, but I've been off for the past couple of days. I took a little mini vacation, so I'm doing all right now. So I go back to work tomorrow, and the stress continues.
Man, I feel you 100%. And as we said, working in the healthcare industry is very stressful. So I definitely feel you on that. It as always, you already know to hit me up if you need anything as well, and especially since we're closer than I am to anybody else in this room. So it's just a matter of just getting there. But I'm glad you got a chance to take a little vacation. And I'll get to a little bit about myself here in just a moment. But Nick, how's your mental health been, man?
Bro, it's like Sappy. Working in the healthcare industry is extremely stressful. So um, every day it's not bad, but we're thankful that we have people that we can call on and vent to.
Hmm.
Personally, I have a wife. Chris is the person who I can just, man, you ain't gonna believe what these motherfuckers did today. You're not gonna believe these. And honestly, it's more of right now. It's more of staff, and not necessarily the staff, but because of what's happening again with the shutdown and your boy's big beautiful bill, it's just causing a lot of angst, and we have to make cuts. And
Hmm.
with cuts comes, us having to uh, furlough some people or lay some people off, which causes more angst and more stress because now we have more of the workload that we have to shoulder ourselves.
Hmm.
And this is work that, I ain't supposed to be doing, because I'm a whole doctor. What am I here doing? Not saying that I'm not above that, but I also have other responsibilities that I need to take care of. First and foremost, making sure I don't hurt the patient, right?
Right.
So there are times where, as Safi said, it's stressful. But I will say that despite all of that, I'm good. There have been days where it's been pretty rough, but next to a wife, Kristen, and I'm able to vent to her and then laugh about it because it's like, you
Hmm.
know what, it is what it is. I- and all you can do is just you can control what you can control. Other
Right.
things you can't control, and you can't really worry about that. So, despite all of that, I gotta say, man, I'm pretty good, man. Doing all right. Mental health is pretty straight right now.
Man, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. And as we've said before, like the working in the healthcare is very stressful, and especially because you work for federal. So of course there are some things that have happened that will, and I can understand, will drive a normal person insane. But I'm just glad that we have people that we can vent to and people that we can lean on in those times. As for me and my mental health, I wish I was in a better spot financially, but at the same time, I've got family that I can lean on in those instances. So I'm grateful for that. At the same time, my job has also been stressful because we are short staffed, but not because of firings, just more so moving around. People have gone to different buildings and we are under new management. So a lot of things have happened. Of course, I've had to step up in my role, and me stepping up in my role has also caused a little more stress than I would like to talk about. I have really been a little upset this week, not to the point that my mental health was in trouble or in jeopardy, but it still just really irritated me. Like, okay, why have we not hired more people since we knew that these people were leaving? Like, what are we doing here, guys? Can we please get some more managers in? Can we get some transfers in or something? Why is it that there's only two what we call red vests in my job. Why are there two red vests on the floor right now? What are we doing? And I basically gave away my job. If you know, you know. But still, it's like, why are there only two managers running this thing? Like, we need more managers. I'm being stretched thin trying to cover all these areas. So yeah, it's been that kind of week. But at the same time, could it be worse? It could. I'm glad that I have coworkers that I can kind of laugh and joke with while this mess is going on. And with the holiday season coming up, I know that the volume is about to get heavy, a little heavy again, but hopefully it's not as heavy as it has been because again, with us being under new management, it's the things are changing. Maybe will it be for the better or for the worse? Who knows? But we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. So with that,
We need to
that pretty much
cancel the holiday season.
up.
That's what we need to do. Just try again next year.
Listen, you were not wrong
Um,
on that.
I wanted to also say shout out to Hampton for a missed, on my end at least, homecoming season. I was so proud to see young Sticky going out there and promoting, Cape, and I thoroughly enjoyed what I saw from the block. And I understand that they're doing things a little bit differently, but I was like overjoyed to know that we're bridging the gap between beats and what is known as sticky situation.
Man, listen. When I watched that video, I said, "Yes, we've come to a point now where the drum line is in a really good spot, not only with chops, but also with just having fun again." And I was thoroughly impressed with what I saw. I wish I got a chance to like really, really, really experience homecoming the way we normally do, but things happen. Bills got to be paid, and it is what it is. But I'm still glad at what I saw. And on the football team, I wish would be better, but I'm so thankful that the band still showed up
Football
and at the
team is
drum line.
taking a L this year.
It's not this is more than an L
How
at
you
this point.
lose
Just
Battle of the Bay, HU, and Homecoming?
But
they
are,
didn't lose
are we
Battle of the
are
Bay
we?
actually.
But honestly, are we surprised?
Oh, I thought
Like,
they lost Battle of the Bay.
I'm not surprised, Law, but no, Battle of the Bay is actually one of the games that they actually won. It was that,
Okay.
and what I want to say, it wasn't Morgan State. I wanted to say it was one of those other HBCU schools. But yeah, those are the only two games that they won. Now, if you mean like Battle of the real
The one
HU, where
game you were
Howard,
supposed to win,
eesh,
washed. Howard washed
yeah,
Hampton
Howard washed belt to
terribly.
ass. I
It's been so long
never.
since Howard won.
Even then, when
Ugh,
Howard would win, it would be
I
like
was
a
so
touchdown.
embarrassed.
Like it would be a one-score game when they won. With that wasn't that. I don't know what that was, but I was like, man, I cannot go out and brag to my Howard friends again because yeah, that they
At
clearly
all.
this year they.
Well, bro, if it makes you feel better, my alma mater beat Howard, Tennessee State. We beat
Oh,
Howard. So
at least we got to win somewhere. I'll
got to
take it.
win somewhere. That's right. That's right.
All right, all right. So with that in mind, it's time for us to get into a little bit of music roundtable. And this music roundtable, we are doing one of, if not the greatest hip hop duo of all time, and that is, of course, Outkast, Big Boy and Andre 3000. Now, the main reason why we are doing it this week is, well, two reasons. One, in the upcoming month in November, Outkast will be officially inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And yes, for you trolls out there, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame includes more than just rock and roll artists. There's R&B, there's country, there's hip hop, there's everybody. So get off your high horse or your racist horse and just live with it. And the other reason is because this week it is the 25th anniversary of Stankonia. So Stankonia officially dropped October 31st, 2000, and it's hard to believe that it's been 25 years. Good Lord. But it is the 25th anniversary, so we were like, hey, this is a perfect time for us to discuss Outkast's discography. Now, typically, if you've seen a Music Roundtable episode, we would usually grade discographies by using the letter grades S, A, B, C, D, and F. However, they only have 6 albums, and all 6 of them are genuinely good, if not better than good. So in this case, all we're going to do is just rank them from 1 to 6. And how we're going to do that, of course, is going to be based off of our MUZIK Roundtable scores. So I'm just going to give the rules here so that way everybody can understand what it is. So typically, I'm gonna say it like this: we're pretty much gonna average our scores out for each album, and then that's kind of where we'll replace the album. So how we do this is we are gonna give them the grades based off of MUZIK Roundtable, which is if you think that the album is an S, obviously the grade will be 100 through 110. We got to put a cap somewhere. A would be 90 to 99. B would be 80 to 89. C would be 70 to 79. D would be 60 to 69, and an F would be 59 and below. I don't think any of these albums are F, but you never know. We've got some hot takes on these MUZIK Roundtables before, so we definitely want to keep it simple. But any album grade that we give, obviously, we'll take the average, and then at that point, we'll find out where each album has ranked based on its average score. So, do we have any questions about how we're scoring these albums? All right, with that, let me go ahead and share my screen so that way everybody can see the tier list that we are going to be utilizing. And with that, it's time for us to discuss the Outkast album. So we're going to go in album order, starting with the debut album of Outkast, Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music. Now, I want to get some thoughts. First, let's get some thoughts from Dr. Nick, because he was a teenager when this album came out.
I am old.
Not you calling him out.
Hey, look, I'm just saying, I'm not the old man in this episode this time.
It's like, oh my
I
God,
was a
yes,
twinkle in my parents' eye.
as you were.
No, I was 3 years old when the album came out. So
Yeah, you were 3. Holy smokes. All right, so some thoughts on Southern Play Mystic Cadillac Music. This is their debut album. When you listen to this album, what you get, at least first off, let me start by saying the reason I love this group so much is because they really are artists. And with artists, a lot of times what they will do is they'll create something that'll take you to a place, right?
mm-hmm.
And the good thing about their art is that everybody can have an interpretation when it comes to what they're talking about. And that interpretation, it doesn't matter. It's right, because art itself is somewhat abstract. What I might see, Ked, you might see something different. Safi might see something different. Law might see something different. But I think that's the beauty of all of these albums that Outkast has done. Now, having said that, Southern Play Mystic Cadillac Music, their first album, what I hear and what I have re-listening to it, and what I hear is 2 boys from the deep South who are hungry. You have to remember, back in that day, this is the early to mid 90s, where there was either a East Coast, there was a West Coast, and nothing else. You know what I'm saying? You had your Biggie, you had your Pac, you had your Nas, you had your Dre and Snoop, and that was it. Yes, we've had artists like Ghetto Boys and Scarface from the South, do their thing, but didn't have, in my opinion, I think it's a crime that those boys didn't get the love that they were supposed to get back in the day. But that's neither here nor there.
Right.
But what I heard listening to this music is some hungry dudes who were determined to put Atlanta on the map of hip hop, to let everybody know that, hey, we are here. We're here. We're here. We're here. They proved that the South had something to say. And we'll get into all of that a little later on,
mm-hmm.
which, leading into the next album. But that's what they were trying to do. This album was gritty. This album was you could close your eyes and you could see the streets of Atlanta. You could see the pavement. You could feel the heat coming from, Atlanta. There's really not a lot of trees. At least maybe they're planting some more, but that's why it's so hot in Atlanta because there are no trees. But you could feel that heat reverberating from the concrete. You can close your eyes and you can also see the red clay from Georgia. You can see that, and you can also see the culture down there. Never have you had any type of hip hop that talked about eating chitlins and ham hocks, or the the accent that they had, the heavy Southern accent. Um, and so when you close your eyes, you could see, KJ, you see us, or I'm sorry, Ted, you see us. We're from the South. We're from the dirty South. Okay. Um, Folks up north didn't really know about, well, maybe they did. I don't know, ham hocks with chitlins on, and all that good stuff. Well, not good stuff, but chitlins aren't. I'm from the South and I still don't like chitlins. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. You see and you hear Atlanta. You hear the South when they're playing this. When you're playing this album, you hear the South. You hear what was going on. The pimps and the Cadillacs and the Eldorados and the 72 Chevys and the Cadillacs. The Those cars that had no insurance tag, license plate expired, and some way, somehow, they were still rolling around. True story. The South came up with Kango hats first. Kango hats and all that pimp shit. That was Atlanta. That was the South. And who do you think copied that? Then, you saw Puffy and you saw Biggie wearing the Kango. Man, that came from Outkast first, man. They're the ones that came out with it first. So what I think is this album is a deep look into narrative, a deep narrative of what Atlanta was back then. And this is how they tell their story. This is what they've experienced. This is what they see. You close your eyes and you can actually pretend like, oh, wow, yeah, I'm in the middle of Atlanta. I'm in Decatur. I'm in Swats. I'm in East Point. You felt that. And if you've been to Atlanta, what they say, if you know, you know. So if you've been to Atlanta, you know what they're talking about. So I think it's a very good portrayal of and an introduction of Atlanta because people knew Atlanta, but they didn't know Atlanta. You feel me? Like they know Atlanta is a city in Georgia, but they didn't know Atlanta. And Outkast said, no, here's Atlanta. So that's what, as far as my interpretation is, this is their first album. They're hungry. They are a little angry that they've been overlooked. They're determined to put the South on the map. That's what I get. That determination. That's what I get from, this first album.
For sure, for sure. Sappy, you have any thoughts?
Honestly, just to piggyback off of what he said, like within this album, you definitely felt the cultural influences of Atlanta within the music. I feel like for individuals who did not understand the music that was being created within the South, this was a great introduction to individuals who never understood like what type of music was coming out of the South. To me, this is to be biased, this is my favorite Outkast album.
Oh,
So
okay.
I know I'm being biased. It is my favorite, yes, because Get Up and Get Out is my favorite Outkast song. But I will say, like, honestly, for someone who did not know Southern rap, like how its cultural influences was, I think this is a great representation of it.
For sure, for sure. Law, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, so y'all bear with me. Like I said, I'm outside and it's raining. Um, to again piggyback off of both Sappy and Dr. Nick, this album for me uh, really showed like the quote unquote euphemism of get it out the mud. Like there was a lot of anger, there was a lot of emotion as a debut album for both Three Stacks and Big Boy coming out of Atlanta at the time. And then to kind of segue that into, you know, the other players that were coming into the game for rap, like Master P and Stunner, like coming out of New Orleans. Like at the time, there weren't many black counterpoints to hip hop in that time. And correct me if I'm wrong, but in the general time frame of what we're talking about, everybody was coming into the game at the same time. And so to listen to this album as a debut album, it really showed that, like, at the time, there was blood, sweat, and tears that went to being able to put yourself at a point of being relevant at the time as a hip hop musician, artist, and everything in between. And so, listening to this album, it was a lot of correlation. Again, like, y'all grew up in South Carolina, I grew up in North Carolina, and I understand everything that they were saying. Like, you know, having to bypass the man, quote unquote. And if you know, you know. There was a lot of dissonance that came with it. So I just listening to that album, it made a lot of things make sense, and it was a lot of correlation points that I was able to basically relate to listening to this album. For me, it stands for me like a solid 3 as a debut album.
For sure, for sure. I gotta give my points because Nick, Sappy, and Law hit on a lot of the points that I wanted to talk about. But mainly one of the things that make this a great debut album for me is just one. Let's talk about the production and how severely underrated. I don't even know if I want to call it severely underrated because I think that they are well respected, but just the production that went behind the scenes, like shout out to the Dungeon family and Organized Noise because they really crafted some great projects for Outkast. Not just Outkast, but when it came to these two, when for Big Boy and at the time Dre, before he was known as Three Stacks, it was something different. And when you go back and you listen to it, from my perspective, it's just like you can hear the hunger, you can hear the frustration, you can hear, as we said, the pimp shit, the Cadillacs, the Southern lifestyle. Like the first half of the album, you can kind of feel the hedonism that they're talking about, just relishing in the fact that hey, they've made it to a point now where they can say that they are hip hop artists. But then you still hear that hunger in the second half of the album, like, we still struggling down here, we still got things that we got to talk about, including like just like a daily life and being an urban African American young male, like with the things that we deal with, the problems with neighborhoods, problems with the government, just things of that nature. Just it just really puts things into perspective on, man, you can kind of hear where they're coming from. And obviously as they got older, things changed, and some ideals have changed as well, and you could hear the growth in their lyrics and whatnot, but you can just feel that raw, uncut nature with this album. And I think that's what I really appreciate. Also just the fact that they wanted to use more live instruments within the production, as opposed to using samples, which is, I mean, at the time, it's not to say that it wasn't unheard of, but it was certainly rare because a lot of the hip hop music that we had, especially in the North and whatnot, would typically use samples, especially, New York. Like that was something that was kind of a given. But that being said, the fact that they would use that live instrumentation really, really helped boost this album because they threw in a lot of funky sounds from this. Like there's a lot of funk. There's as the time goes on, there will be more rock included and more psychedelic sounds as well. And this album as an introduction to who they are really, really, like, I think that it's one of those albums that is slept on, if I'm being generally honest, because when people talk about Outkast, they might talk about the not the last one, but the second to last one, obviously, because that's the one that got them the most awards. But with this album, it's like, yeah, okay. And to Law's point, you know, there are some there were some southern artists out there, and like Nick said, you know, you had the Ghetto Boys out there, and of course, you also had you had Two Live Crew that was out there as well. But this was, as far as lyrics and as far as subject matter, this album blew the doors open for the South, especially the Atlanta rap scene. So I guess it comes down to, you know, what you prefer. Now, I have some favorite songs. Obviously, Sappy mentioned one, you know, Get Up, Get Out. That is one of my favorites. Players Ball, we know Players Ball is a Christmas song, but in this album, they tried to make it not seem like a Christmas song, but we know what it was originally for. If you know, you know. And of course, the title track, Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music, was one of my favorites as well. Ain't No Thing. Actually, Ain't No Thing might be my second favorite one. There's Crumbling Herb, which I thought was a very underrated track. And then Call It a Wild as well. That's another very underrated track for me. Do anybody else have any favorite tracks on this album themselves?
Yeah. The interlude, True That.
Oh,
Okay. Where Big Rube basically he tells you the definition of an outcast,
yeah.
right? And he basically said, well, if you know that this album is more than just pimps and hoes, then you're an outcast. But if that's all you think it is, you might be a cracker, or you might be black and you think you're a cracker. And those are in more ways than one. That's exactly what he said. And so he made it as if, hey, it's cool to be different. You know, it's cool to not be mainstream. You know, it's cool not to be of the, you know, because as you said, Two Live Crew, I mean, back then in the 90s, all you heard from the South was, you know, Two Live Crew, and it was, you know, really it was just twerk music or Miami bass music. And they made it cool to be real different. And they made it cool for Southern rap to say, hey, man, we got these issues going on, man. You know, and Big Rube says that it's funny that this was back in the 90s. And there's one particular phrase that he said. He was like, you know, the water's being poisoned, yada, yada, yada. Well, we all know what happened in Flint, Michigan years later. So it's like some of the stuff that he was talking about, well, here it is. So I thought that was pretty dead on. And then the other one is DEEP, Deep. That basically he's saying they're rapping consciously, stuff that's happening, the problems of the world, problems of this country. I pulled up. Let me see. I got some lyrics that let me see. Let's see. I had it. Blah 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 blah. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I ain't the one with the curse or disperse. Yes, catching plague, niggas catching AIDS, niggas getting sprayed, niggas on the way to a dead end. You won't catch me spreading no white thighs. I only see Afro up in my eyes. So I mean, him saying that, he's just like, yo, these folks out here catching this plague, catching these AIDS, getting charged because, you know, they're white people, and we know that's still a problem. That is a problem that a black man, like, not to get political. Well, yeah, I am going to get political because they're political. But anytime a white man does something, it's like a slap on the wrist. So let a white man, you know, not have permission to have relations with a black woman. Oh, it's just, you know, boys being boys. Reverse that. Let a black man supposedly not have any relations, you know, supposedly not have permission having those relations, damn near get death.
Right.
And so they're pretty much saying the stuff that they say. And also, let's also remember, this is the South. So it's 8, 9, 9 to the power times worse. Even today, it's 2025, man, and we're still being treated like third, fourth class citizens. So um, I thought that was a very uh, that hit me, and I had forgotten all about that song until I listened to it again. I was like, oh, you know what? Yeah. And then he says, and then I'll mute myself. Deeper than deep dish, hammers and vogues, deeper than the sea fish in the ocean. So he's basically saying, yeah, this ain't just about any superficial thing. I'm going to get deep. I'm going to get deep. No, we're not just going to talk about big butts and girls and
Yeah,
the hedonism. No, there's things going on here that y'all need to know that we need to tell you.
for sure. All right. Sabby, did you have any more favorites on this other than Get Up, Get Out?
Nope, that's my favorite.
Hey, I just thought I'd ask. Law, did you have any favorite
That's it.
tracks?
Nah, I was gonna say that's the same thing for me, but I also like how they talked about, like, I like the spelling of the song "Get Up, Get Out" because it reminded me of my grandma,
Mm-hmm.
and she's always like, "Get up off your ass and get to it, grandson. Like, you ain't never gonna be given anything out here, so you gotta go up, you gotta go out and do for you." But on top of that, it also resonated because I'm the type of person where, like, I don't want to have to wait, to go and get what is for me. Like, as the euphemism is, carpe diem,
Mm-hmm.
attack the day, you know. So like that kind of resonated with me as well because it's just like you got to be able to go and get it yourself because especially like how Dr. Nick was talking, you're not going to be given anything in this world, especially where we are in, society. So it just resonated with me because it's like, yeah, if you want it, you got to go out and get it. You got to put in the blood, sweat, and tears. And even if you aren't giving, your flowers at the time of inception, you still got to go and make it do what it do for you because at the end of the day, it's your life to live. Either you're going to be successful off of your own merit, or you're just gonna get overlooked.
Word, word. All right. So with
KJ,
that, yo,
kid, one more thing, man. See, you made a mistake of getting me on this podcast because I'm going to break down a whole lot of these lyrics. Okay.
hey,
All
do
right.
what it do.
So also in the song Deep, Andre basically says, don't judge a book by its cover.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to what he says. He says, um, let's see, no, I ain't never be pimped by the system. That's because I ain't no slave. Don't be trying to sunbathe. Never lived off in the cave. Bloody old chap. And then his head of mine is full of naps. And the only thing I know is how to, and how to rap. And he's like, nah, y'all think I'm stupid because I shoot them up like Cupid. And if you give me a basketball, yeah, I'd show you how to shoot it. If a pair of Jordans came out, y'all figured I got them, but no, I don't because I'm gonna be having funds. Gold that I wear really is bronze, and it's making my neck turn green. And yeah, I got a criminal record that may never come clean. So basically, he's saying y'all are giving me all these stereotypes, but that ain't me. You see the gold chain, bro? I'm broke.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this thing is made out of bronze, copper. Y'all think I got the Jordans, but no, I'm broke. I'm hustling. That goes back to what I was saying in the beginning. They were hungry. And
Yeah.
they're letting you know that, nah, bro, it's a struggle out here. Um, we like to think that, oh, these knuckleheads out here, and it's just like, no, nah, we just trying to make it. And that's what Dre is saying in Deep. We just trying to make it. Y'all don't don't put me in this category. And unfortunately, even it's our people that will do that. I walk around with locks, or if my head is natural, my hair is natural, and they start to think, oh, so what is he doing around that? And then they see me and I'm driving a nice car, and I've had this happen before. They think I'm selling dope.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a whole damn doctor. So don't judge me for what I look like, or anything like that, or my name, especially my name. Holy smokes, my whole government. I won't say my government on there,
Right.
but yeah, well, no, I won't. But my entire government will have you thinking I'm from somewhere overseas and like I'm trying to, terrorize the nation. It's just like, no, I'm just a black man that's just trying to make it in this world who happens to be a doctor. Leave me the hell alone. So anyway, just one more thing. All right, I'm gonna shut up. Let's get back to your regular scheduled program.
It's crazy that you say that because that also made me bring up some of Big Boy's words, especially on Deep. Uh, and I don't want to cause no controversy, but just the subject matter that he's talking about, especially when it comes to people of a certain color. Like when you get into the lyrics, like where it says the Caucasus Mountains and the mutant gene, you try to wipe a nigga like me, slam up off the scene, you hairy bastard. Walk a little bit faster because of the shit that I done been through. I shall never call you master. Like that I was like, okay, yeah, now we getting somewhere. Like, and a lot of people, we say all the time that we really do sleep on Big Boy a lot. Listen, just pay attention to some of the lyrics that he says, and you'll understand exactly where he's coming from. And I could go deeper into those lyrics as well. But when you think about the history of black folk, and then especially how we came from overseas and whatnot, and just what our ancestors had to endure, that definitely plays a role in how our thought process is. But that being said, we got 5 more albums to cover, and we definitely have to keep the train rolling. For Southern Playlistic Cadillac Music, if I have to give this a grade, listen, all 4 of these albums have really been like for me. So I'm giving their debut album, if I have to give this a letter grade, it's gonna be an A. If I have to give it a number, because again, we got to make sure that we rank these correctly. I'm probably giving this a 95. Anybody else?
Um, I'm gonna give it. Yeah, I'm gonna give it an A as well. Oh, okay, wait. What's A again? A is not
90
100
to
to
99.
say again.
90 to 99.
90 to 99.
Yeah.
I give it a 90. Ooh, wow. 95.
Oh, okay.
95. 95.
Sappy,
It's a strong 90 for me.
wrong 90.
I'm going 92 and a half, only because of what superseded their opening debut what superseded their debut album. I really enjoyed it, and I foresaw like their greatness from listening to that, and then everything after that was just like, okay, I'm standing them as a fan, as a like true lover of lyricism and picture painting and everything in between. So I'm going 92 and a half,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
I gave my like brief.
Mm-hmm. And Law said that his phone was dying, so it might have cut out. But he did at least give that score. So if when the chance or the off chance that he gets a chance to get back and get his phone charged, then we'll continue the conversation with him. But with his score of 92 and a half, that puts Southern at 93.125, which is a strange number because of that half. But anyway, for the purpose of this score, we'll say it's a 93. On the screen, of course, I put it just in the middle right here because obviously we have to get through some more. That brings us to AT Aliens. Now, I kind of want to start this one off because I also feel like this is another slept on Outkast album. I feel as though it does not get the love that it deserves, in
Who was
part
sleeping
just
on it?
because you said what? You
I said, who was sleeping on it?
you'd be
Sappy's right.
surprised.
Who is sleeping on ATL? Like,
I
what are they on?
I don't know
At
because
all.
I feel as though that this album really is this, if nothing else, this album blows any sophomore slump. Like if artists have sophomore slumps, this wasn't it. This was like, okay, this is the next level up. And it's just the fact that they kept rising after that was what really makes this crazy. So for me, AT Aliens, like the let me just start by saying I want to say 7 track run, maybe even 8 track run between Two Dope Boys in a Cadillac all the way to Babylon is just like non-stop as far as lyrics, as far as subject matter. It's just like, okay, listen, if y'all thought that y'all could sleep on these two, y'all got another thing coming. And obviously with this album, there were some changes to Andre's lifestyle. Obviously, he stopped smoking around this time. They said in the backstory one day he just showed up to the studio with a turban, and niggas was like, okay. But that still didn't take away from his rapping ability and his subject matter. If anything, we start to see, Andre, I guess he's trying to find out who he is and come into his own, because as he's mentioned in the last album, especially on Deep, the stuff that they were talking about, like the pimp shit, like that does not represent who Andre is. So he was just trying to find out who he was as a person at this point, in his life. They're about to be, if they're not already 20 or 21 years old. So they're figuring out life. Of course, he goes back, he gets his GED. And at this stage of the game, he wants to show the world, who he is and what is important to him. And while Big Boy still talked more about the traditional stuff, he still had crazy lyrics and that. And man, I could go on about the album production for days, because this is when they start to incorporate more of those alien sounds. And who was doing that in 1996, especially in rap? Like who was actually doing that? And the answer is nobody, for real. When you incorporate those sounds into the actual production and you kind of make a theme for the album, and all of those songs fit into that theme, the way that these songs sound is just incredible. And once again, I gotta shout out Organized Noise, because wow, what incredible production. Before I get too deep into that, I just want to talk about my favorite song on the track, Jazzy Bell. And I think that it hits me a little different, because this was the soundtrack for when I was in college. When there was those long nights where I was studying or just hanging out with friends or whatnot, and we were just like sitting there laid back. For those who don't know, we had a lot of friends who smoked, and so anytime that they were in the zone and whatnot, and they were high, throughout that playlist, somehow this song always came up, and I would just be sitting there rapping, like while they was chiefing. I'm over here like just rapping Andre's lyrics. Oh yes, I love it like Egyptian. One of description, my Royal Highness. That is still one of the best openings of any rap song, in my humble and honest opinion. And then the background vocals for this, and they really don't do this often anymore. Like, please bring back background vocals from R&B singers, please. That's all I ask. Rap, like, I just want them to do that again. And just like that, I forgot the young lady's name, and I know she's instrumental in like the Organized Noise and their and everything that they made. But of course, Babyface made a remix to it as well. But I forgot who. And I got to look it up again, and I'll come back to myself on that. But then when we talk about elevators and just how both of them are looking at where they were in the rap game at the time, and with Andre, it's just like, look, we making the crowd move, but we not making no G's, and that's a no. Like, they're still, they had a platinum selling album, great. They're still not where they want to be at. So you can still tell that they're very hungry and that they're trying to find their way through the rap game. And it's really interesting, because even Big Boy said, like, back in the day when I was younger, hunger looking to fill me belly with that rallies. And if y'all know what rallies and checkers is, it's I mean, depending on what day you go there, it could be good, but it's also not healthy. And it's a lot of greasy burgers out there. So it's just like, looking for different food options, and just the hunger to, based on that and basing off their hunger in the rap game, is, I think that's where the comparison lies. And then it's just so much that we could talk about with this album. So I'm gonna get up out the way because I definitely want to hear Nick's perspective.
So this is where let's take it back to where at the beginning of the production of this album. Outkast just won. I can't remember if it was best or best freshman award, something like that from the
The
Source
Source
Awards.
Awards, yeah.
When the Source Awards used to be on TV, right? They won best debut rap album, and they got booed.
Yeah.
And Andre said, "You know what? The South got something to say." And I think this album solidifies that, yes, they indeed had something to say because this album went hard. Okay.
Yeah.
This album, I'm going to be like Sappy. I am going to, hey, spoiler alert, this was my favorite Outkast album. This thing took me to places that I didn't know existed. What the young people say, Atlanta's not a real place, Well, this is them saying, you know what, you're right. It's not a real place. We are aliens. Everyone in Atlanta is different. This is an alien world. So let me reintroduce you to Atlanta. And what they did was they combined with the space age type of music. So you felt like you were traveling to another planet.
Yeah.
Somewhere far away. You felt like you were on the spaceship and you were stopping at every point of Atlanta, East Point, Decatur. But this time, no, this is not in the United States. This is on some faraway planet, right? At least that's what I got sonically, just the sounds and the type of music that it really did. There are some songs in there that sounds real airy. They have that airy space feel to where you could close your eyes and you can be like, you know what, I could be floating right now.
Right.
And again, the artistry of it, it's like I closed my eyes and I could imagine Big Boy and Outkast beaming me up and taking me somewhere far, far away. In reality, it's only about a 5.5 hour drive from where I am, but it felt like it was 5 light years. So while they continue to be, focused as far as lyrics on the problems that are happening in this world, the problems that are happening down in the South, and everything that's happening with government, you felt like you were somewhere far off in another planet, in another world, in another galaxy. Just the sound was different. And I liked this album the most because it really showed the growth. I mean, it went from, okay, one theme and not just the growth, but really the genius of these artists, man. These people might not know. Big Boy and Andre were smart. I read somewhere that Big Boy graduated with like a 3.8 or something like that in high school. Something like that. 3.6, 3.8. Okay, bro. Okay. He was smart, And so they had these ideas and they weren't scared to try something different. And you also have to remember that they even had the audacity to put a comic for those who are not as old as I am, once upon a time, you would get a CD and that CD would have a paper cover in there. So you would open the paper cover and there would be a CD there with an artistic interpretation, which, by the way, on every album that they had a artistic interpretation of, for the sake of the young viewers, I won't get into what it was. Just know it was a good looking lady.
Yeah.
Okay, it was a good looking lady on all of them. But they had the audacity to have a comic. So you would take out the album cover and you would open it, and it had a whole comic about Andre and Three Stacks being, I mean, I'm being redundant, Big Boy and Three Stacks like as like alien heroes, you know, trying
Mm-hmm.
to save the world. Um, I believe, and I wish I looked this up, but I believe Big Boy had the power to summon a lion or a panther in the comic, which obviously stands for a lot. You know, when
Right.
you think of either a lion or a panther, I think it was a panther, but you think about Panther, you know, the Black Panthers, you know,
Yep.
or Black Panther Wakanda Forever before folks even knew that a Black Panther existed. So they had the audacity to even have the artistic idea of putting a comic in there. And so you followed along the comic and you're like, wow, you know, something that has never been done before in any type of anything, not just hip hop, but I don't remember ever getting a R&B album and they had a whole comic in there.
Nope.
So they did something way beyond what was expected. And the fact that they were brilliant enough and daring enough to try something like that is one of the main reasons why this was my favorite album that Outkast has made.
Mm. All right. Sappy, your thoughts.
So this album, I thoroughly enjoyed it only because I feel like this specific album is what showed the world what Outkast's authentic sound is. Like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we are finally introduced to what is the sound of Outkast and overall what we come to love from Outkast. I feel like their flow, the type of rap, like we weren't getting like gangster rap from them. Like we was getting like soulful rap.
Yes.
And I feel like that's when we all was like, okay, this is a sound that Outkast is putting out. And this is, I mean, at the time people didn't really like it, but I feel like this is what the sound that we grew to love and that we always expect from Outkast now, or like what made us differentiate them from other rappers.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like with this specific album, like me, I don't know, me and you, Elevators, that's my jam.
Yeah.
So I feel like I don't know, I really do love. It's not my favorite Outkast album, but this is definitely one of the top three for me.
Yeah. I'm gonna get a little bit more to like my top three when we continue the discussion. But as Nick said, I do remember the album cover. Now I remember the comic. Now I was too young to kind of like comprehend what the comic was saying, obviously, because again I was only 5. But that being said, I do remember the comic. I do remember him having it in his, back in the day when people used to keep CDs and whatnot in the in this and whatnot in this collection of CDs.
That thing was like this big, bro.
Yeah, I remember that the pamphlet, and I remember seeing like the comic in itself. I also remember, as we said, that at least each Outkast album up until Speaker Box and The Love Below, all their albums had artwork of as you said, a beautiful lady with I'm just gonna be frank, no clothes. We'll just leave it at that. If you haven't seen
It's
these
giving
albums, I mean,
Ohio
you can
player.
obviously Google them, but yeah.
Exactly.
So that being said, yeah, I think while continuing to talk about the social injustices and continuing to use these sounds to bring awareness to what's going on, as well as their daily lives, and trying to figure out how they can become, or strive to be at the top of their game. I think this is, if Southern Playalistic was like them at their rawest, this showed even more raw lyrics, but more refined, and a more refined sound coming from them, because this is also where Dre got into his experimental bag as well with Organized Noise. So we can say for certain, like, this is where the production, with Organized Noise and Outkast as a production team, really started to like come together. And we'll get more into that as we go on. I guess we got to do some grades here. Okay, AT Aliens is, for me, this one was not difficult. but it was, I was floating between two grades. I'm going to say that AT Aliens for me was a 98. It was like not quite 100, but I'm y'all gonna see where I'm going with this. But for me, AT Aliens is a 98, and it's probably my third favorite Outkast album, and you'll hear why in a sec.
This is a rare album that no skips. At least for me, I could just pop it in there and ride with it. For me, if I ain't got to skip anything, you're going to get a high score.
Hmm.
ATLNs for me is a damn near perfect album. So we can't say 100. It goes up to 99.
Well, no, you can say 100 because that's what we call S tier. So anywhere between 100 and 110. I had to cap it somewhere. So
Oh, okay. All right, all right, all right. I won't give it 110. I don't think I've ever heard any. I don't think I've heard maybe one, but Outcast would be the closest. So I'm gonna give it a 10. I'm gonna give it a 10. I'm gonna give it a 105. That's
okay,
how that's how exceptional I think this album is.
got you. Sappy,
It is a 95 for me.
95. All right. And I'm looking at Lost
Mhm.
Text because he actually kind of ranked his albums. He's got AT Aliens as number 4. I don't know exactly what his score would be per se, but based on the 3 scores that we have right now, that puts AT Aliens at like a 99.3. So right now, I'm just gonna put it up here for the moment, because now we got to talk about what was my favorite Outkast album um of all time until like maybe a couple years ago. Because as I, again, this is not my first listening of these albums, obviously, but we got to talk about it. And this album Aquemini was actually my first real introduction to Outkast as someone who was starting to learn and comprehend music, because I was 7 when they dropped Aquemini. And so now I'm actually starting to understand where they're going, and and as I'm understanding what hip hop is as a 6, 7 year old boy, I'm now starting to comprehend lyrics. I'm starting to comprehend music and just how it makes me feel. So Aquemini, um, I'm gonna let Sappy start because I got some notes.
You got some notes. Um, so honestly, for this album, I will say this was the introduction to Outkast for me. This and Stankonia, I think both of them were like, okay, this is somebody that you're interested in, that you're willing to. And I think they were actually like playing the music videos on 106 and Park by then.
Interesting, because
Correct
yeah,
me if
this
I'm wrong,
album this album
but
came out before 106 in Park was a thing. If I'm not mistaken, 106 in
no. So
Park
it
debuted in
must have been
2000.
Stankonia then.
Yeah, it was Stankonia that they first started like
It
playing the
must have been that
videos
one.
for real,
Okay.
for real.
So okay, so I think it was that album that introduced me to Outkast. But
Hmm.
for in the re-listening to this album, I'm not gonna say it wasn't one of my favorites. It did have great songs that I like remember listening to, and I'm like, oh, okay, this. But I feel like for their music in general, like you can definitely hear the storytelling
Yes.
within their art or their rapping, and you can definitely see like how they're coming not coming into, but you can see how they have their rap style, and how they're coming into their own, and how they're solidifying how their rap style is, how it's been created, or how they're putting it out there. I feel like for this album, what was the song? I have to look at the track list.
Uh,
Rosa
I
Parks,
got
that
one
was when
right
they
here.
had ev- everybody that song that had that's when they had like Rosa Parks' family trying to sue them. So
Oh,
this was when they also
yeah.
had like the law issues. So I feel like that's what brought them more popularity as well, because people like, wait, who is this group that's causing all this trouble? I know specifically for me, but no, I really did like this album, but it wasn't my favorite, to be quite honest. So
Hey, and
y'all
look,
probably gonna get
that's
a little bit lower score for me.
well, that's fair. Let me gather my thoughts because as I said, this was my first introduction to Outkast in real time, as I'm learning who they are, and I just remember that, uh, and Nick, you can attest to this because Nick, I think, had a cassette tape that had a lot of like rap songs that were recorded
A
on there, and I just
cassette
remembered,
tape.
yes, cassette tape. Cassette tapes were still a thing
You
in
showing
'98.
ages here.
I'm old.
But it was one particular song. It was Rosa Parks, and I just remember like listening to it, and I guess for a 7-year-old, it's kind of like an out of body experience because I just remember hearing this song on repeat consistently while being in Nick's car or like even just being in our old house. And something about hearing that harmonica breakdown was always fun for me. But also just the lyrics in general of Aquemini are one of the biggest reasons why I love this album. And if I'm not mistaken, this was their first album that got like if in Source Magazine, it got 5 mics, and deservedly so. When we, as you said, when it talks about our storytelling, the storytelling in this album is really strong. But especially between the art of storytelling part 1 and part 2, like those are some of the greatest tracks ever. But I want to get into some of the other things. For me, for whatever reason, when I was younger, I didn't remember listening to Skew It on the Barbie as much. But then as I got older, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. How did I miss this track when I was younger? Because Skew It on the Barbie has now become one of those tracks that I actually go back to on a consistent basis. And I gotta throw this. I think this is where, outside of Return of the G, this is where I think Dre kind of started separating himself, not as the better MC, but as the more unique MC, and why he's so praised and lauded for who he is. Because now I think around Aquemini is when he started adopting the persona of Andre 3000, in part to separate himself from Dr. Dre, but also just because of who he is. You know, we just started seeing the different costumes and the wigs, and because when he said he makes music, he sees colors, and he wanted to embody that. And Aquemini is the album for that. I got to bring up some lyrics on here because it's I heard in an interview that for those who know Jid, aka JID, who also went to Hampton, he said in one of the latest interviews that he tried to that at least Andre's cadence on Return of the G, it still has not been matched. And he's tried multiple times, and he still can't get it. And then when I go back and listen to it, it's just like, wait a minute, where's the pocket? I can't find the, oh wait, I found the pocket, but damn, it was hard. Like I can only imagine if somebody tried to like rap this song in karaoke, they would not be able to get it. At least not from Dre's perspective. You might be able to rap Big Boy's verse with no problem, but if you tried to rap Three Stacks verse, you probably wouldn't. And I like the fact that at least in Return of the Gangster, Dre was talking about, okay, I see that there's questions about me. You're trying to wondering, am I gay or what's going on with me? Am I doing something different? You asking, am I on drugs? Am I in a cult? Y'all keep asking Big Boy what's wrong with me and whatnot. It's no, this is literally just who I am. Like, y'all gonna wake up, man. I'm feeling better than I've ever felt before. And I think that Return of the G like really put the stamp on who Dre was. And then as I'm going, because I'm going backwards now, I wanted to rewind back to like Skew It on the Barbie because Dre and Big Boy and Raekwon, their flow on this song was just so phenomenal. We can start like at the beginning of Andre's verse, like the common denominator, the nigga numerator, never know who to hate, and niggas cater to your ego. Like that is one of the best like starts of a verse. Like get damn, like the match or something. You about to smoke this shit. Raekwon had one of the most underrated flows on here, like deliver this through your audio, ghetto mafioso, grow hydro, then back it up slow. Like, and then Big Boy had one of the most I think one of the best starts as well on this one. Like, I bust raps like these boys bust gags. We the type of people that don't bury the axe or the hatchet. And if you're a Currency fan like me, the moment that he used that for his song with Prodigy, rest in peace. I'm trying to remember what the name of that song was. And just like that, it just escaped me because I'm thinking my mind is going like a mile a minute. But still, that was just one of the best like intros for me. And I was just like, oh man, I'm starting to make connections and I'm starting to figure out where these boys is coming from. Like, the lyrics in this entire album is just absolutely phenomenal. I think that's why it's so high on my list. And then as I'm moving on, I definitely just want to refer to the rest of the songs. I think the only song that might be controversial on this album is Mamacita. And if you listen to it, you can kind of see why. You're just like, okay, the chorus is kind of repetitive. Subject matter ain't the strongest, but okay. But outside of that, like Synthesizer, they predicted the future with that one. And if you listen to Andre's verse, like, yeah, when we talk about fake, not fake, not only just fake things, but between like fake sounds or trying to synthesize your voice on music, it's just crazy how into the future that they really were, because now you get, at least in this day and age, people using or synthesizing their voice on tracks, whether it be mumble rap or whatever. It's like, dang, they really knew what they were talking about. And even Andre said he felt like he was just kind of making things up, but I'm like, boy, if only you knew where rap was back then and where it was going, you would know, like, you was telling the truth on this. I gotta also give West Savannah some love, because I know that Big Boy really talked about like his roots and he wanted to put it on the first album, but instead they put it on this one to kind of pay homage to that, and Big Boy's roots and how he grew up and his aspirations, and of course his love for his aunt Renee, rest in peace, and how she pretty much influenced him to get into the rap game. The two songs that really, really like make this almost the perfect album for me is Spodioti Dopalicious and Liberation. Like, the music in these two tracks, just absolutely phenomenal. The storytelling in Spodioti Dopalicious is still just it's still almost perfect. And then Liberation is that's another one, man. Every time I think about it, there's a fine line between love and hate. See, can't wait too late, but baby, I'm on it. Like, it's man, CeeLo has some great vocals on that. Erykah Badu has some great vocals on it. They also had Joy and Peaches on there. Like, that is, and then Big Rube's outro for this. Again, underrated poet. Like, I must admit, they planted a lot of things in the brains and the veins of my strain. Makes it hard to refrain from the host of cocaine, from the horse to the flame, like from a post in the game. Like this. I gotta stop, because I can go on and on about this album. I'm gonna pass it to Nick.
You sure this one's not your favorite?
I'm gonna get to it. Because y'all gonna see why I'm struggling. But go ahead.
We knew this was going to be hard to rank because, listen, you've got true artists here. But all right, so remember I said that I consider these albums work of art because when I close my eyes, to take me somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So now we were on another planet. Aquemini took me to a whole nother dimension, and this dimension is full of colors.
Yeah.
What you hear is a lot of Parliament Funkadelic. And for those who don't know who Parliament Funkadelic is, shame on you, number one. But number
You
two,
should know. You don't even have to explain. You should know.
You should
okay,
know.
you should know.
You
If
should
you
know.
are a true music lover, you should know, right? But this album gave me get on the mothership. We're not going to this planet. We're going to a whole nother dimension.
Mm-hmm.
And I see, like, literally, I can close my eyes and I see colors, kind of like what Dre was saying. You know, he sees colors when he sees. I don't necessarily see colors when I see music. I don't. But I could see what he was saying. because I can close my eyes and I can see purple skies, and I can see, blue grass. I can see colors, and you might think, boy, what is you smoking? Well, essentially, this is what Equimini is to me. It is a trip. It is a trip to somewhere beyond what hip hop was. Because remember, this is still 1998. This is still,
Mhm.
90s, 2000s rap. And, during that time, that's when your crunk music starts becoming more popular. Your snap music starts to kind of creep up in there. Just some of the microwavable stuff that we see a lot of more of in today's music industry. But while that was happening, you still had these folks that had a lot of substance. Again, they injected a lot of Parliament Funkadelic sounds to where, first of all, again, Parliament was on a whole nother level.
Yep.
Okay. This was back in the 70s. And you know what? Ked, shout out to Pops, because Pops really put us down on Parliament. We got to give a shout out to him, but he put us down. And Parliament was on a whole nother level. There's a couple of lyrics. So I'm going to shift to Parliament first. There's a couple of lyrics on Parliament's Mothership Connection that says, we have come back to reclaim the pyramids, stuff like that. We have come from the Bermuda Triangle or Easter Island. Which one are you from? We are light years ahead. We're giving you music light years beyond from what you can understand. Stuff like that. Outkast incorporated that and gave us music that was light years ahead of everything. And this is why, I don't remember if he started calling himself Three Stacks by now. Maybe he did, but he should have if he wasn't, because he was beyond, Andre 2000. He was beyond the year 2000. He was in the year 3000. Both of them were in the year 3000 and a whole nother dimension, right? This album was incredible. And here's even more incredible. One of the more incredible things is that, again, the Source gave it 5 mics. The Source was a magazine back in the day that used to mean something. Of course, it's defunct right now. But if you were a true hip hop fan, you went by what the Source said. So if the Source gave you 5 mics, you were legit. You were in there, right? You are a bona fide hip hop artist, right? You didn't get many 5 mics. I don't even think Jay-Z has gotten 5 mics. I could be wrong. I don't think he's ever gotten 5 mics. Maybe the Blueprint. I don't remember. But let's also remember that the Source is still heavily biased on East Coast, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, even after ATLians, they're still fighting, and they still feel like they're being disrespected, and they still feel like they're being looked over, But I think the good thing is that at this point, they don't care, right? This is when Andre starts to, wear his stuff and wear his fashion statements or whatever. And this is also where they really start to dabble into different types of sounds. So again, this is something, no one in hip hop has ever heard. And they basically said, screw it. We don't care. Y'all gonna love it anyway. And they were right. We loved it. A track on there, the track Equimini, right?
Yes.
That really speaks to me, because it's literally, you talk about Dre's flow. Dre's second verse on Equimini, not only is it smooth as butter, but it's also a deep inward inspection of himself. He says, and I quote, "My mind warps and bends, floats the wind, count to 10, meet the twin, Andre Ben, welcome to the lion's den." He is original skin, many men comprehend. I extend myself, so you go out and tell a friend, right? Shit all depends on what you're believing in. Faith is what you make. That's the hardest shit from MC Ren, right? Then he goes to saying, alien can blend right on in with your kin. Look again, because I swear I spot one every now and then. And then what's he say? It's happening again. Wish I can tell you when. Andre, This is Andre.
Andre.
Y'all just gonna have to make
Make
amends.
amends.
You just gonna have to, deal with it. Make amends with what's going on inside of your brain. Make amends of who you are. Make amends of what it is. And what it is that we are who we are. This is an album where they said, you know what? We don't care. This is who we are. We are outcasts, and that's what we are. We are outcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And you're gonna love it. And they were brilliant enough to welcome us in their whole dimension, right? It wasn't, well, I'll take, maybe for some people it was just way out there, because for some people ATLians as well, like way out there. It was just like, what is this? And they didn't like it because it wasn't something that they were used to hearing. So it's like, and one of the albums, I don't remember, actually I think it is the Aquemini. It was like, yeah, man, first it was all Southern players and stuff, and it was on some
Yep.
outer space shit. It's like, I don't know what they are now. And
Yeah, it was
Outkast was just like, yeah, it was one of those interludes, wasn't it? On
yeah, it was an interlude after Return of the G, right before winning the Rosa Parks.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. But yet and still, they stayed true to their Southern roots. You talk about Rosa Parks, the harmonica. Ooh, if that ain't down south.
Yep.
That. And you can't help but just stomp your foot.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're in the back of a church with the wooden floors and the wooden pews. You can't have that. So I agree with you with, there is one, this would be a perfect album for me, except that one song, and it is Mamacita. I found that very hard to listen to. And it was just like, oh. So, but we are now in a whole nother dimension with these folks. We're not even in this dimension. We're in the 5th, 6th, 7th dimension right now.
Yep, man. All of that. Aquemini, the song Aquemini, I meant to talk about as well. But just one more thing for me, just the art of storytelling part 1, and how Big Boy and Dre kind of like flow their stories together. Like, Big Boy talking about his run-in with Susie Screw, and then how Susie Screw had a partner named Sasha Thumper, that was abusing drugs and whatnot, and then Dre kind of asking her, how want to live your life, and she just wants to be alive, and how that whole story just connects with each other. That's what really makes like this whole thing, or at least made that whole song beautiful in my eyes. Now, as with that being said, because of Mamacita is why I'm not like giving it like the super high score that I want to give it. That being said, it's still like a 100 for me, just from the lyrics alone within this entire album. And as Nick said, like if ATLians, like you're taking you to another planet, Aquemini is taking you to another dimension, and at this point, Outkast is separating themselves from everybody else. And the fact that this was my introduction is why this album has such a meaningful place in my heart. But why I don't feel as if it's my absolute favorite, we gonna get to next. But anyway, I gave it 100. That's just me. What is everybody else's score?
I'm gonna give it. I gave it a 99. Really, that Mamacita really, it. And when you're younger, particularly, it's just like, yeah, well, But today, it's just like, ooh, that was rough. Like
Yeah.
that was really rough and really hard to listen to. So, I'll give it a 99.
Okay. Sappy.
For me, it is a 95.
95. Okay. So we hanging
Mhm.
around like the 95 era. It is a 98 based on 3 of our scores. Law said this was his least favorite one. He put it at number 6.
Are you serious?
I gotta ask him about that one, because
He better than me too.
there's a clear number 6 for me, but we'll get
There's
there.
a clear number 6 at least.
Yeah.
We need to have say a prayer for our boy Law, because what?
Yeah.
There's no way. All right.
I gotta do that. So based on our three scores, it's I'll rearrange them again, but right now it's falling behind AT Aliens based on our aggregate scores here by 1 point. So um that brings us to Stankonia, and this is why I struggle with between Aquemini and Stankonia for me, because whereas Aquemini, I loved all of the lyrics, Stankonia, I fell in love with the music. And I know this is kind of around the time where Andre like starts crooning and whatnot and wants to do a little more singing than rapping, and people are trying to figure out, what's going on with him and why he wants to try different things. But Stankonia is one of those albums to me that really really sticks out because it is such, if Aquemini, if nobody was doing anything on AT Aliens and Aquemini, they sure as hell wasn't doing what anybody else is doing on Stankonia, because this at this point there's more rock involved, there's more drum and bass involved, and to me I think that's what really like makes this album so unique. And for those who don't know, this was the highest rated rap album on Metacritic before To Pimp a Butterfly came and took that record. That Metacritic had given this a 95, and then To Pimp a Butterfly was a 96, which makes it the highest rap album of all time. But I say that to say that when you listen to Stankonia, it's like Andre and Big Boy are taking you into, if they've taken you to the another dimension, now they are taking you to the place where they reside in that dimension. And Stankonia is like, it is crazy from start to finish. I just want to talk about how aggressive Gasoline Dreams is as a start, because if you, for me, I'm going into it listening straight from Chunky Fire, which is like, okay, I'm starting to hear some rock in there, and then straight into Gasoline Dreams after the intro, it's just like, whoa, okay, this is aggressive. um but rightfully so. Whereas Big Boy continues to talk about the system itself and how how the police treat black men, Andre has more of an existential crisis in this song, and he's just like, "Look, all of my heroes did dope," and he's looking at himself, within, and it's just like, "Yo, I'm woeing right now because, how do we separate ourselves from what's going on in America?" And that goes again with the chorus, "Don't everybody like the smell of gasoline? Well, burn, motherfucker, burn American dream." Like it's one of those things where now we looking at it from a more he was looking from it from an introspective, whereas Big Boy was looking at his surroundings, and it just the from the way that they both come together on that intro, that really set the tone for me. Like, okay, um, and Sappy just texted me. She said she had to take her dog out, but she'll be right back. Uh, that gives me a little more time to talk, because Stankonia for me, I think that when we go straight into that, and then from there, I'm trying to bring the track list up now so that way I can remember which one was which, because I literally listened to Stankonia and Equipment twice to be sure that I had this right. So of course it goes into I'm Cool, the interlude, and then So Fresh and So Clean. What I also liked about Stankonia is the different interludes that they had that connected each of the songs, and then all of them ended with break, and then it will go to the next track. So it seemed, even though Stankonia is probably not not including Speak of Oxen and Love Below, because that's 2 albums in one, hence that being the longest one, but this is probably their longest album before then. That being said, yeah, you got So Fresh, so it goes straight into So Fresh, So Clean, and then that goes straight into Miss Jackson, which we all know is probably their biggest song that's not Hey Ya. And this was the one that shot them straight into the stratosphere of mainstream. And you hear the two different perspectives on Miss Jackson. Of course, Andre talking about his unfortunate failed relationship with Erica Badu, but still being, that committed dad to their son Seven. And Big Boy talking about his baby mama drama issues, because obviously he's had one daughter from one lady, and then he's about to have a son from another lady. So now he's dealing with those two elements and trying to, apologize, but also, at the end, like, all right, you know what, y'all go do whatever. At this point, I stopped caring. But hearing those two perspectives come together for the song really, I think, is what really makes the song great. But just the fact that it's so catchy is why, of course, it caught on to the mainstream, because you couldn't go anywhere without somebody saying, "I'm sorry, Miss Jackson." Woo! Like, you could not go anywhere without hearing that. So there's that, and then it goes straight into snapping and trapping, which I think is a really underrated posse cut. But
Yeah.
then Spaghetti Junction, after the Dungeon Family interlude, but Spaghetti Junction is one of those songs that is just like, okay, yeah, they was really rapping on this one. Kim and Cookie, man, I got to talk about this interlude because when I was younger, of course, I didn't understand it, but like listening to it now as an adult, I'm like, wow, okay, this is absolutely a hilarious interview. And then it goes straight to their one of the more funny songs, "I'll Call Before I Come," which is like when I was younger, I really didn't understand it at all. And then I get older and I'm just like, wait a minute. How was I 9 years old listening to this? This is kind of wow. Okay.
Bro, you had no business listening to that song at now.
No business listening to that at all. At all. And then comes, which is probably my favorite Outkast track of all time, and Bombs Over Baghdad. And I think this is, I'm just being honest, because I know that a lot of people will say these other songs are their favorite, but the reason why B.O.B. hits me the way that it does is just one, there was not a song that was ever created like that, and there hasn't been one since. You're not gonna find rap songs that incorporate rock and drum and bass the way that B.O.B. did. And granted, the song didn't get as popular in the future, in part because of the situation going on with the Iraqi war and whatnot. But still, the fact that a song like this came out, and if you look at the video and you match the video with the way that this song is, it's just like, it is such a huge trip. But also, both Big Boy and Three Stacks come in and they absolutely kill their verses, and their pockets are crazy. And I could go deeper into the lyrics, but for the sake of time, I was just trying to keep it short. But it's just the overall song, especially like the guitar solo at the end, the fact that they utilized the Morris College Choir, and then we hear, of course, the intro, end of the track, Power Music Electric Revival. You can really feel that in this song, but it is such a mind-blowing song to me. And I will always, like, not only because of the lyrics, but also just because of the music behind it. I have, to this day, I'm like, yo, this is my favorite Outkast song, like, of all time. Just because of what it is. Good Hair, of course, we had the interlude with Good Hair. We Love These Hoes, which is a track without Stacks, but I think it's a good posse cut. Humble Mumble. I slept on this one when I was younger. Even when I was like in college listening to this, I definitely slept on this one. And now I'm listening to it again at 34, and I'm like, oh, I missed this track completely, because yeah, Big Boy and Three Stacks went in, and of course Erica provides her crazy vocal ability as always, and it really makes it a strong, super strong track. I've currently put that one on my playlist from this point forward. And then what I think is probably their best posse track, Gangsta Shit, because I'm skipping a few things. I'm skipping Question Mark, Red Velvet. Not to say that those aren't important songs, because look, on Question Mark, Stacks just goes in and it's just like, all right, yo, you know what? Yep, he's there. He's there. That let me know right then and there. I'm like, okay, I know, we talking about drinking, but just listening to that again, and the fact that Question Mark is in, as a musician, that song is in 3/4 time. So I'm sitting here like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Oh, and then Dre is spitting on this, and just the way his pocket is, I was like, yep, you got it, Three Stacks, you got it. But again, Gangsta Shit, One of my favorite posse cuts, in part because of the guitar solos, but also just the fact that they were able to get as many folks as they did on that, from Slime Calhoun to Big C-Bone, Slim Calhoun, goodness gracious, Slim Calhoun to C-Bone. It's really one of those better ones. And then Toilet Tisha. And I don't think that I listened to it often when you bought this CD, Nick, but as I got older and I realized what the song was truly about, it's really a depressing song. Um, but I think that it was important because, it just shows that, and the story behind Toilet Tissue, if you haven't listened to it, is really about this girl who got pregnant and was afraid of the backlash from her parents, and also didn't know how to handle the pregnancy. So instead of having the baby and getting the support from her parents, she took her life, and they found her on the toilet, like in the bathroom. And that's why the song is called the way that it is. And it's like Big Boy gives this perspective on, had she known that her parents still would have loved her and helped her, then she wouldn't have had to go that far. But because she was dealing with that crisis as a teen mom, or a potential teen mom, she didn't know how she was going to handle that. So of course she ended up taking her life. And then it goes into Slum Beautiful with CeeLo, which I thought was really a beautiful song. And then the Stank Love for Stankonia itself, which I think Nick, you had this on repeat in your car multiple times as well. And as I was younger, I didn't appreciate it as much. As I got older, I'm like, oh yeah, this is one of them songs, man. Cujo and Dre on the verse for that song is absolutely like crazy. Big Rube's poetry at the end is, and of course Sleepy Brown's verse, all of that together, it is a trip. Stankonia is an absolute trip. And the fact that the album ends with that trip, it every time I listen to this album, I'm just completely blown away. And so that is why, like, I struggle, because it's like there is the lyrics for Equimini have always been stronger for me, but the music on top of the lyrics with Stankonia has just been like up here. And so that's why I struggled internally on what was my number one, what was my number two. But I'm gonna let Nick talk about it, and hopefully whenever Sappy gets back, she'll be able to discuss it some more as well.
So this truly, the way that you described when you said if Aquemini took you to another dimension, Stankonia let you know exactly where in that dimension it was. Bro, I was going to say that exact same thing. So that just proves that great musicians think alike, and that we brothers, man.
Yeah.
But let me tell you this, man. This was, when I close my eyes and I see this picture, what I see is a beautiful. Okay, all right. So I see graffiti, but not just like regular tag. This not like graffiti that it's like abstract graffiti. You know what I'm saying? Like this is what this album kind of as far as something visual I can kind of see and relate to. I see an abstract graffiti on a big mural, because this album comes and it hits you and you don't know what's going on. It's frenetic. It's full of energy. It is aggressive.
Yeah.
That's a very good description. It is aggressive, and you're just being hit everywhere with everything all at the same time. And the way that they put this album together with the interludes was genius, because it's like you were going, interlude, breathe, breathe. Okay, you ready? Great.
Right.
Go. Chill. Break. Go. So I think that was genius the way that they did that. Because it is a frenetic album. B.O.B., they're rapping at 155 beats per minute. Like it's one, two, 1, 2, 3, yeah, boom, cha, boom, boom. I mean, it is going, and it is at a frenetic pace, and you have to have, as far as when you're spitting. Okay, for those again, for these young folks who are listening to this, when I say, I don't mean literally spit, but back in the day, if you could spitting was it was a it means you could really flow. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
no, for sure. They should
you
know what spitting
had
is.
that flow. You could spit. It wasn't just, yeah, he could rap. No, if you could spit, that was the
Mhm.
highest of the highest of quality. Okay. Outcasts can spit. They always been able to spit. But if you can spit something at that speed, you have to have this crazy breath control
Yeah.
to be able to do that. Without, because if I try doing that, I promise you my lungs are going to be like, and I'm going to be like,
Mhm.
the breath control that they had was just unbelievable. I often when I'm listening to like old school hip hop,
Mhm.
I always used to think that I would always compare and contrast when it comes to breath control. Big Pun, okay,
Yeah.
Big Pun, may he rest his soul. Big Pun had incredible breath control to where he could spit a million miles a minute without taking a breath, and all he had to do was take a short breath, and then he
Mhm.
would spit another mouth. These Outcasts did this at 155 beats a minute, and if you were ever to doubt Big Boy's skills, this was one of those tracks to where he was like, no, 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 listen to
Mhm.
what he's got to say. And the way that he just, don't stress, get on the everything about the microphone, like that bad boy can still get, bruh. Even today, I still am like, what? And I have to rewind it and re-listen to it. I mean, he went off.
Yeah.
He went off. Both of them went off. Both of them snapped. Like they snapped on this. And you're right. There hasn't been a rap song like this ever, and still never.
Right.
I can't catch that cadence. That's one. I can't do it. Oftentimes I can Nas, I can catch the cadence. Pac, I can catch the cadence. Biggie, I can catch the cadence, and it's easy. This ain't easy. So just the development that they had and the skill that they had, because let's be honest, rapping is a skill.
Yes.
Guys, and I don't mean to poop on all of the artists, the rap artists that are out there today, but I'm sorry, some of them cannot hold the old school's jock strap. They
Nah,
wouldn't be
nah.
able to.
Yeah. Go
Okay.
go go ahead and shit
because
on them, man, because
because
listen.
listen, you've got some rappers out there some hip hop artists out there who honestly right now they're using like Chat GPT to rap their rhymes, bro. You know
I
what I'm saying? And
mm,
so
baby, she
it's
do
like
it.
you can't even write your own rhymes, and then you can't rap the rhymes that you write. You fumble over them, and you're like, oh wait, I messed up. And these guys are out here rapping at 155 beats a minute,
Right.
and it's concise and it's clear, and that takes a lot of skill. Rapping takes skill anyway. To
Yes.
write down something, to sit down and come up with an idea, and then write it down. Write down lyrics that are substantial, that have some type of substance, and then put it together with beats and the music and everything, and produce that. That takes a lot of skill.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, the older I get, the more I realize, and this is a shame on me for taking that skill that they have and not really appreciating that, because that's hard. That is hard to do. Music is hard to do. Rapping is
Yeah.
hard to do. Writing poetry, which essentially that's what rap is. That's hard to do. And now you're telling me that they sat down and wrote this and said, what would be cool if we played this at breakneck speed. And it's just like, wait, y'all are going to do that? And they did it.
Yeah.
And if you blinked, or if you for a second, quit listening, you missed something. It went over your head. And it's just like, they was probably saying something pretty conscious and pretty deep. Now you have to rewind it because it's like, wait, what did he say? What did he say? Um, so I can go on and on about Bombs Over Baghdad. I absolutely can. But as a whole for the album, it is because it hits you everywhere. So it's like an abstract graffiti tag for me. Beautiful, and you're there to look at it and come up with your own interpretation. This is probably the most, for me, this is the most abstract album that they did because there was really no central theme. It was, here's this yellow, here's this red, here's this orange, here's this maroon, and shit, it sprayed it all over the place and was just like, voila. And you're looking at it and you're like, what just happened? I don't know what just happened. I just got hit. My ear is having an eargasm because it's like, wow, that was incredible. What did I just hear? And you don't know. And over here, you're like, but they were still rapping about, stuff that matters, stuff that's happening. If in Bombs Over Baghdad, Andre said cure for cancer, probably got a cure for cancer, cure for AIDS. And if you didn't listen, you missed that. You was like, oh wait, he said, what else did he say? He said, I don't remember. Even today, I'm gonna look it up real quick. I'm gonna look it up real quick. All right, because I gotta now that I've mentioned it, I gotta make sure that it's right. Let's see. He said, uh,
If you're talking about at the end of that verse, if I remember correctly, cure for cancer, cure for AIDS, and make a nigga want to spend a tour for days, get back home, things are wrong. Well, not really. They was bad all along.
It was all bad all along. Yeah. It's just like, well, no, things were never, good. They were still all along. It was still bad. But yeah, that's the one. That's it. Thank you, KJ.
Yeah. No problem.
That's the one. But if you,
quick,
yeah,
I did want to at least get Sap because I know that she has some things to do for work tomorrow.
Oh yeah. I'm okay. I'm gonna shut up. All right.
Yes, no problem. But Sap, we just wanted to know what your opinion was of Stankonia before you had to leave.
I always talk about my favorite song too. So Bombs Over Baghdad, 10 out of 10. That is still my workout song to this day. But no, but really, I will say this was my first like introduction to Outkast, like coming to terms with music and understanding. And I feel like this album was their more, I want to say, public perception album. Like that's what everybody was like, okay, this is Outkast. Like we were getting the cool music videos, we were getting the weird outfits and all that stuff. I feel like this album for me, I will say it was an all-around great album. I feel like every single track was fire on this album for me. I know other people might say different, but I feel like for me this album had every single track was fire personally. But I think this is like a high rank, and I think this is, Rolling Stones did consider this one of like the highest ranking hip hop albums of all time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, as I said, like Metacritic
Is it this
had
one
this
or
as their,
ATLians? I think it's this one. Yeah,
they had
That's
this
this
as
one.
their highest rated rap album of all time before To Pimp a Butterfly was a
one,
thing. So yeah,
that was a thing.
hey, I mean, I'm just
But
saying
nah,
like that
yeah,
because
I feel like this is probably one of Outkast's best albums.
I got some thoughts, but with that in mind, what would your score be?
Oh, this is the 98.
98. Okay. Nick, if you wanted to continue the conversation real quick, because I know that we were just talking about B.O.B., but if you had anything more to add.
Nothing more to add. I'm glad you reeled me in because I will talk about this album forever. So appreciate you reeling me in. Let's kind of stay on track because we all got jobs that we need to do and we need to get to bed soon. So I won't. There's nothing more that I can say except that it just hits you all over the place. It gives you it hits you in the gut and it just doesn't stop until that very end where you get that's the last song is where you hear more P Funk than ever. Like
Mhm.
that was a trip. All right. I'm gonna give this album whew, a 100.
And for me,
Like stamp
as I've
100.
said, because I was going back and forth between Equimini and this, and I was struggling so much with this, and then I finally just came to a decision, and I said it's a 105 for me. Like, this is my favorite Outkast album of all time. I think I can say that at least now. Might in 2 months from now, it might be Equimini again. In the next year, it might be AT Aliens again. But as of right now, this is my favorite. And so with the aggregate score that we got, it's right now the score is 101. So right now, Stankonia is probably going to be the number one album here. Uh, I've looked at Law. Law had this as his number one album. At least he's consistent on that one. But we got to talk about that number two because and that number six because yeah. Um, at any point, Sabby, if you do gotta go, definitely just hit me with your scores for the last two because frankly, I'm not gonna say that these aren't bad albums, these last two, but obviously they're gonna rank a little lower than the other four.
We already know what spot 5 and spot 6 is.
Uh
But
yeah.
thank you guys. It was a pleasure, Dr. Nick. It was a pleasure meeting you. I will definitely text you my scores so you guys know I'm still in the conversation.
Okay.
Or
However, real life is hitting your girl. So
I understand.
it was a pleasure, you all.
hey, it's a pleasure. You take care now. All right.
Till next
Hey,
time.
Till
appreciate you
next
pulling up,
time.
Sab.
Peace.
All right. So now we're down to the last two. Uh I'm not gonna spend too much time on these two. For me, when it comes to Speaker Box and the Love Below, at this point, we know that Big Boy and Dre are in two different creative spaces at this point. It was
Hmm.
trying to come up with an album, or solo album, and pretty much LaFace had told him like, "Don't drop a solo album just yet. It's not going to be good for business." So
Yeah.
instead, they decided, well, if he's doing working on a solo project, Big Boy can do the same thing. So Big Boy created an album of his own called Speaker Box, and then they were still waiting for Dre to finish. And the Love Below almost didn't happen until it did, and then they finally put it together. So that's how we got Speaker Box and the Love Below. And at this point, this is Outkast at the height of their popularity. Granted, is it their strongest album? No. I think that a lot of the songs though are really good and a lot of subject matter are really good because you know Big Boy still wanted to stay in the lane that he was in, and at this point Dre wanted to make something that was not rap. He wanted to make pretty much I don't want to call it a whole R&B album because he was still rapping in his album, but it was more R&B based. And
Yeah.
so that's how we ended up getting Speaker Box and the Love Below. Dre is featured a couple of times on Speaker Box. Big Boy's only featured once on the Love Below, and that's in Roses. Speaker Box definitely talks more about uh Big Boy's struggles, about life in general. Uh a lot of the songs that were in this felt a lot more like geared towards big band, which I think around this time is when they started working on Idlewild as well for the movie. But of course, as if you know, and you know the lore behind it, Idlewild kept getting pushed back, pushed back, pushed back until it finally dropped in '06. So with that, of course, some songs that were used in Idlewild were obviously on Big Boy's album, whereas the songs that Three Stacks had, he didn't use for Idlewild, but the songs that he had on Idlewild were directly correlated with the movie. And that's kind of why why I say Idlewild is not necessarily the movie soundtrack, but it is based off of the movie because you have tracks on there
Hmm.
that are not directly correlated with the movie. But
Right.
still, Speaker Box and The Love Below, for me, I think is still a really good double album. We get to see their creative differences and what lane they've kind of occupied at this point. I will say for me on the Speaker Box side, Bow Tie is still like one of my favorite ones. Ghetto Music is still one of those, as you said, one of those frenetic songs that kind of like it's a certain BPM to that song. I don't know the exact BPM to Ghetto Music, but when you hear Big Boy spit, it's just like, okay, this kind of reminds me of B.O.B. Not in the traditional sense, but just the way that he's spitting, he's literally boom, 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 boom. But I still like that song. Obviously, it has the way you move. It has the rooster, which was used for Idlewild as well as Bow Tie, as well as Church. Um, Tomb of the Boom, I think, is probably for me my favorite track on there outside of Bow Tie for the speaker box side. And then for the Love Below, you get the story of Ice Cold and his existential crisis of trying to find love throughout the entire album. You get Happy Valentine's Day, which I thought was really when I was young, when I was 12, I think because I was 12 when this album came out. So I when I first heard of this in Yusef's car, I'm thinking that it's talking about like Valentine's Day being his favorite holiday. But if you go deeper into the song, it's really kind of a diss song towards Valentine's Day. Especially at the end. I'm like, wait a minute, okay, I was reading this completely wrong. But all right. Spread. Just you can kind of guess what that is about. Yeah. I'm gonna try to keep it PG for the remainder of the episode.
We gonna
But
try. Yeah.
yeah. But I do like the continuity between Spread, the interlude for Wearing My Panties, and then how Ice Cold is thinking like, nah, be cool, be cool, be cool. And like, and I think she thinks that I might think she's some kind of hoe, but nah. But maybe I love her, maybe I don't. But wait. What if she's the one? And then it goes immediately in the Prototype, which is still one of the most beautiful songs that Andre has ever made. Yeah, Prototype is definitely my favorite on this one. Even with Hey Ya with Roses, Behold a Lady, and She's Alive on there. Shoot, even with Dracula's Wedding, which I really love, I still think that Prototype is probably like the best one. And then obviously you got the tracks Hey Ya and Roses, which I love Roses when it first came out, but I think Prototype is, to me, that is like you said, that when you like close your eyes and you try to imagine where you are, like Prototype takes you to another world. And I think the music video also displays that as well, with him coming to this other world looking for the love of his life. So it really puts a different perspective into things. Granted, again, if you were when you first bought this album, if you listened to Speaker Box, then you could pop in the Love Below. You weren't listening to them both at the same time. The fact that it's now on streaming, but it's made into like one album, this one and this two. And if you try to listen to it like from start to finish, it's long. It's over 2 hours,
Yeah.
which is like yikes in real time, because that's 40 songs that you got to get through. But again, when this first album came out, of course, streaming was not a thing. It was literally a double album, so you could pop in one, take one out, and then pop in the other. I also believe this is the first album that they had that did not include a naked lady on it, because Speakerbox had the speakers and then Love Below had the roses on it. So yeah, if I had to give this a score, for me, it's a 90. I think that it's still an A, but it's at this point it's their weakest from a lyrical and from a storytelling perspective. But again, they were in two creative different lanes. It was still very, very creative, and obviously it gave them the Grammy for best rap album and best album. And if I'm not mistaken, they're the last rap group to ever win best album, because there hasn't been a rap artist or a rap group that's won it since, which is kind of crazy Grammys, but that's another story for another time. Anyway, that's where my score is for Speaker Box and the Love Below.
It's you could tell, yeah, that they were in two different creative lanes, as you said. Um, and they weren't afraid to try to make this work. I liked what they did. I liked the fact that they basically said, "Nah, yeah, we're gonna make separate albums, but nah, you're gonna get this album. This is
Mhm.
Outkast. We're not going to say, hey, buy this Big Boy album. buy this 3 Stacks album. No, you
No.
getting this album. You getting both of us. But I agree with you. It's crazy that this was going to be one of the lower scores that I've given Outkast, but yet this was the album that won Album of the Year, not Rap Album of the Year, Album of the
Album of
Year.
the year.
Period. Album of the Year, meaning that they beat out country, a country album, a rock album, an R&B album, gospel. They beat out all the albums. A rap album beat out
Mhm.
all the albums for Album of the Year. But yet here we are getting ready to give them a, now mind you, now it's not a low score because it's still high 90s, high to mid 90s,
Right.
but it just goes to show you how talented and how much of a heavy hitter they were. Because even at, we're giving them a lower score, this thing won the Grammy
Mhm.
Album of the Year. Um, I really wish, and I continue to wish, that people did not sleep on Big Boy like they did, because they tend to lean towards 3 Stacks, because 3 Stacks, yes, we obviously know that he is one of the best lyricists, flat out. Um, and if I've had this argument say that, man, nah, man, 3 Stacks ain't no lyricist and blah 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 blah, and it's just like, what are you talking about? And the reason I say that is because you have his peers saying, yeah, he's dope. Okay.
Mhm.
Case in point, Eminem, regardless of his skin color, regardless of everything, the boy can spit.
Yeah.
And one of his songs, he names his favorite rappers. You know what he says? He goes, Reggie, Jay-Z, Tupac, and Biggie, Andre from Outkast.
Mhm.
So you have the greatest selling rap artist. Wow, is he still the greatest rap artist, selling rap artist, or did Drake or K Dot beat him out? I don't know. I
I would
don't
say
know.
that, yeah, in terms of right now, I think he's still the, at least monetarily, he's still the highest, but
Yeah.
I do believe that Drake is like almost like right behind him if he hasn't surpassed him,
Okay.
unfortunately.
So, right. But you have one of the, and I am not afraid, because I've always been, when it comes to hip hop, I've also had this, and this is probably a story for another day to dive into deeply. I don't care what your skin color is. If you can spit, you can spit.
Mhm.
You could be Big Pun. He was Puerto Rican. He could
Yep.
spit. He could spit. Like, and hip hop was never just about black people. Hip hop was supposed to be for everybody. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So anyway, um, but the fact that, yes, Andre was a is a exceptional lyricist. Big Boy had something to say as well. Big
Yes.
Boy could hold his own. Okay. Um, One of Speaker Box, a song that really popped up to me was War. Okay.
Mhm.
War is one of those songs. Again, he is basically telling you everything that's happening in this world, and it continues to happen. All
Yep.
right. He says, the hollow hearts battle for dollars. Yep. It's all about money. Politicians, modern day magicians, physicians of death, no health care for the poor, health, who making us ill. He's basically saying, yeah, okay, but how are we getting sick in the first place?
Right.
You know, they're making us kill is making me spill my guts. So it's like, what are we doing? And then he goes, hey, did they really catch Osama? Did they really find him? Yes, they did. But,
Yeah.
it's like he's questioning everything the government is doing. And you can't blame him for thinking that, because Lord knows these days, right now, we're questioning everything that our government is doing. What are we doing?
Right.
What is happening? And again, shout out to Law. Hang in there, my boy. It's like you're playing with people's lives because politicians, you know, they're doing fine. There's a lot of people that are not doing fine. So for him to mention that, and it still relates to today, and the fact that then he goes back and he talks about Fred Hampton. Okay. For those who don't know who Fred Hampton is, do your research, do your history. But Fred Hampton was murdered.
Yes.
Okay. Fred Hampton was flat out murdered. And he's just like, yo, you know, Alameen got life and Fred got dead Hampton.
Yeah.
You know, they killed Fred Hampton. So he had a lot to say on that, and I really appreciate. I was like, yo, and I had forgotten about that song. Rooster. Um, I mean, baby mama drama. And then I think the funniest thing he said, he was like, man, I think they done clone Miss Jackson. It's him talking about it. It's like, dang, no, I'm Miss Jackson. It's like everybody gone, they leaving me. So, if you've been in that situation, and for those who have, if it's not fun. To where you're going through a situation to where your family's leaving you. So that's just him spitting out his frustrations about it. And then we flip to, and as you said, because it's back in the day, it was two separate CDs.
Right.
So you could take a break and then put another one in. But since it's streaming, you can just kind of keep going. And, where when you're streaming, where there's a demarcation. It's like, whoop, now we're in the Love Below. And as you said, the Love Below is just Dre dreaming, praying for that perfect woman, that love. Okay. And it's a lot of interpretations of that love, because at first, yes, he's talking about, hey, I'm just trying to find a girl. I'm a pretty cool guy. Even goes as far as saying, God, can you help me find that woman? And so, it's just like, when I'm going to meet her, hey, thanks so much. And then it goes into the story of him meeting somebody. And as you said, with Spread, it's like, it's a progression of what happens. Meet somebody, you go and you have a little too much fun. And then it's like, ooh, and then the thoughts that go inside, the lady is saying, man, you probably will think I'm a hoe. And he's just like, nah, I don't care about that. And he's just like, maybe she is the one. And then, as you said, Prototype. And yes, Prototype is one of the most beautiful songs. It's so beautiful. I danced at it at my wedding, right? Me and Chris, that was our song. And you close your eyes and it's like, man, it is truly a beautiful song. So I really liked how it flowed that way. But then you also go into Still Alive, the love that he has for his mom because of how she raised him up. It tells, I'm assuming that's his mom. I could be wrong, but it's a single mother. And saying that, hey, your pops wasn't there, but, you can't tell me that God doesn't exist, because look at us now, despite everything that we didn't have, here you are right now. So the love of his mother, I think maybe he was kind of trying to inject some of that inside this album. Vibrate. So Vibrate obviously has connotations of self-love, masturbation.
Yeah.
Right. Saying that he can't find anybody. It seems like there's nobody out there for. Okay, well, you know what? The hell with this. I'll do it myself. And he's talking about, a woman using the vibrator. We just gonna get real here. A woman using the vibrator, desensitizing the thing that gave life. And another lyric he said was that the future is in your hands. Well, no, it's in your hand. And it's just like, dude, so it's out of line, but he ain't wrong. Sometimes, it's like, hey, it's just self-expression and self-exploration.
Yep.
Which, I don't frown on. Nobody should frown upon that. It's part of life. Anyway, so that's some of the things that I found really interesting. The love below, obviously the love below. But as unique as this album was, I have to say, like, lyrically, it was pretty good. Sonically, though, I wasn't. It wasn't what I was hoping for. I got a lot of. To me, it was The Love Below was more of a Prince sounding like album,
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, Prince already did that, and I didn't, I couldn't. I'm while I'm very glad that Andre decided to go in another direction. Hey, be creative, be you, explore, try different things out. Don't be held in a box. You've been outside of the box all this time. Continue to do that. I really wish that this album was more him spit. Like I could
Yeah.
just in my head think that some of these songs would actually sound pretty good if you would just spit. Um, you didn't have to necessarily sing all the time, but
Yeah.
hey, you tried something, and I still enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, I still enjoyed it, but again, I got a lot of Prince vibes, and it's just like, yeah, but it was still pretty enjoyable. So I think with this one, I would give it a and, oh, and before I do that, along with Big Boy, I, I sonically it was great. It was good. I shouldn't say
Yeah.
great. It was good. It was good. Um, but there was a bit of a letdown after you heard the assault on your ears from Stankonia, because that's what that was. There was a
Yeah.
beautiful assault to your senses. So you went from that to like, oh, okay, well, this is cool, but oh. So I think I would give the album, I think I would 90, I give it a 92.
Okay. And that puts it at a 91.3, which would be in the proverbial fifth place spot, which I kind of figured that's where it was going.
Yeah,
And as you said, it whereas Stankonia was literally an assault on your ears in a good way, like Speaker Box in the Love Below felt more like a cool down from all
yeah.
of that, from a
Well,
creative standpoint.
that's a very good explanation. Yeah, man, good description.
Yeah, so there's that, and again, that's not to take away from the greatness that is the album, because as we said, it was album of the year. It won all the awards. It is literally their album that went diamond.
Yeah,
Out of all of them, it went diamond. But still, from I guess, sonically, we wish that Dre could spit more on it, and then we wish there would have. There, it felt like there was something missing, despite the fact
yeah,
that these two had two different creative lanes. You could tell, like, okay, it's great, but but it still did what it had to do, and I think that it achieved its goal. And then there's Idlewild. Now I'm not going to say that this album is bad. It's not bad. When we say that this album, for me, that a lot of people's best album cannot see Idlewild. That's saying something.
right.
Idlewild is probably proverbially their worst album, and a lot of rap folks albums still can't touch that. That's saying a lot about the creative lane that Outkast was in and just how good they are as MCs. Now, from a creative standpoint, obviously this is the the soundtrack to go along with the movie Idlewild. I can't
Mhm.
say again that this is the actual movie soundtrack because there were songs on there that were not included. However, when I look at Idlewild as a whole, you can also tell that they were still kind of in different creative lanes, because out of all of the tracks that were on there, they are only together on three of them, and that's Mighty O, um, Hollywood Divorce, and PJ and Rooster. Everything else they're kind of like doing separately. Whereas a lot of the songs that Dre did on this one were geared towards the movie's narrative. A lot of the
Yeah,
stuff that Big Boy did was completely different, because a lot of the songs that he used for Idlewild again was on Speakerbox. So with that in mind, I think from a blend standpoint and from a storytelling standpoint, or at least from a creative flow standpoint, whereas every album for the most part had a general theme. Ottawa felt the least of these. It felt like the theme didn't really stay on track to where it was supposed to go, just because Big Boy was doing something completely different than what Dre was doing. Dre, at least the tracks that he used, were more geared towards the movie, whereas Big Boy did not. That being said, Big Boy still had some tracks that were relevant to the movie, like the track called The Law, which was a track based off of Rooster's wife, Zora, from the movie. And that is the song where I, for the first time ever, heard Janelle Monáe ever.
Mm-hmm.
That was our first
Mm-hmm.
introduction to her, and yeah, she
Mm-hmm.
definitely killed it. Uh, that being said, it still was a really decent album. I still love um I still love Mighty O. I love Ottawa Blue. I can kind of see where Dre was doing. He went the blues direction with this song, hence the name Ottawa Blue. Morris Brown is still one of my favorite band songs to ever play. I'm glad that Big Boy made this track for all the bands and included the Morris Brown band, which I'm seeing is and hoping that they're making a comeback. And I think that honestly, one of my favorite songs on here is Hollywood Divorce. Uh, this was prime Wayne when Wayne could kind of stay on track on the subject.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
like listening to Wayne on this song, I was like, this is the Wayne I remember. Like this is the Wayne that I fell in love with. Everybody else might have fallen in love with the Wayne after Carter 3, but this is the Wayne that I loved. Like he told a story with this one, as well as, obviously Dre, Big Boy, and Snoop all came with great verses for that song. Um, I want to say the worst track on here is Bug Face. Obviously, this was Big Boy's sons, and he was just making a track for them to dance to. Uh, but it's still, for me, it was probably the worst track on here. That's not to say it's a bad track. It's just obviously it kind of doesn't fit. But he wanted to make one with his sons. You know what? Do what to do. Uh, and then I'm trying to think that what was my absolute favorite song outside of Hollywood Divorce. I think that I love the train, and I think that the train doesn't get enough love as is, and I think that's a song that they definitely could have dropped if they wanted to. Um, and then the biggest thing about this album for me is just it feels like not a letdown, but it just when you hear this and you realize that this is Outkast's very last album, and that
Yeah.
they don't make another one together
Yeah.
after this, it's
Yeah.
like, okay, we didn't really get like the finale. Like I wanted some
Mm-hmm.
finality
Mm-hmm.
with their music, and
Mm-hmm.
Idlewild is not that fine. It doesn't give final Outcast album. It feels like there is something missing from it, and it's like, yo, and that's why people have been begging just for one more. At least I've been begging for one more. Like, just give me one more Outcast album, and after that, if y'all don't make any more music ever again, fine, so be it. It just felt kind of like a drop off. And
Yeah.
and maybe I'm asking this now because and I know that when Dre dropped his flute album, he said, like, what am I gonna rap about at 48? At this stage, with them both being 50, you can still rap. You can find different ways to rap about your life at that age. Clips just literally proved it with Let God Sort Them Out. And so the OGs are still making music. They're just at a different point in time than when they were in their 20s, obviously. But I say that to say that Idlewild is still a very good track. And if you pair it with the movie, it's still very good sonically. It's just obviously it's still not their strongest, which is why, like, for me, it's at the bottom of the list. It is, for me, it's a B. It's an 85, and I think Sappy gave the same score as I did. Uh it's really not much else to say about it. So the one thing I did want to point out was that Law put this as his number 2, and I really got to ask him
Say what now?
Yeah, Law had Idlewild at number 2.
Oh wow.
I don't know
Um.
why, and I will ask him about that later. But anyway, That's where I have Idlewild.
Um, the same here. I've always felt like it was so disjointed. It was no cohesiveness. It was just
No.
like, it's just like, guys, you can do way better than this. But as you said, though their worst is still way better than a lot of rappers, hip hop artists' best. And
Yeah.
this was their worst one. And what they tried to do, Idlewild was basically set in the 1920s, 30s type of era,
Hmm.
wh- where you go to speakeasies and it was supposed to be a speakeasy in Georgia, I believe. So they tried to blend a lot of blues and swing
Yep.
and jazz and everything.
Yes.
And they tried to blend that in. And again, kudos to them for not being afraid of trying something different. But it really was another letdown. It was like, okay, I'm used to being able to close my eyes and I want you guys to take me somewhere. And it's like with this album, whereas the other albums, I felt like I was in a spaceship. This album really felt like one of them old ass cars that, you're driving it and then you got to
Hmm.
get out and crank it and then get back on there and you drive a little bit and then it breaks down again. You got to get back out. I mean, a hand crank car.
Hand crank
It's
car
like,
is crazy.
ain't that wild though? But
Yeah.
that's what literally I'm listening to this album. I'm just like, come on, like and we're on a dirt road. So
Yeah.
it's a hand crank car and we're on a dirt road, and it's like I'm trying to get there, but it's like there's a lack of cohesiveness, and it's just like it is a letdown. It's like, man, you know, again, they continue to weave in the struggles of life, the
Hmm.
struggles of social commentary, and all of that. They try to weave that in there, but it really is just it's like it really is to me. It's and I can't even get my thoughts together right now. I apologize.
No, that's
It's
fine.
like we are seeing the slowest breakup ever.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like it used to be so cohesive, and perhaps the beginning of I don't want to say breakup, but like the creative lane, the separate creative lanes, and it's just like you just see that divergence starting to go.
Hmm.
Whereas it used to be with their first, with their first one, their second one, their third one, it was like boom,
Right.
it all fit together. You started to see that separation in the speaker box of love below, and then Idlewild was just like, oh wow, you know, it's like it's like they tried, but it's like they kept, they tried to get back like this, but it's like they kept doing this and they kept
Hmm.
doing that, and then they did that, and then they try, okay, let's try this way, no, and then okay, let's go this. It just never, it was never able to connect and be a cohesive album to where I was satisfied. I did when I finished listening to this album. I felt even before listening to it again, it felt back in the day, it just felt off,
Hmm.
and it was disappointing, and again disappointing because of the standard that we set for them.
Right.
The album it's not a bad album. It really isn't. It's very creative, and there are a lot of songs that I enjoy because I enjoy that fusion of jazz and blues because that's music. You
Yes.
feel me? But because we had set the standard, well, not they, not us, but they
Hmm.
had set the standard to way beyond to what we were used to. That's kind of what we were hoping for. and kind of thinking what we were going to get. But instead of getting on a light speed spaceship, we're back on this, hand crank car on a dirt road. And it's like I'm trying so hard to turn little this little car into a spaceship, and it just ain't working. I hit a pothole, and there goes my wheel. It's just like, dang it.
Mhm.
And so now I have to go and get another wheel and then crank up the car again. Whereas earlier, nothing could stop this movement. Nothing could stop the spaceship. We were gone. We were out. We were gone. And so, yes, there was some good. Hollywood Divorce continues to be, yes, my favorite track off of this album.
Yep.
And as you said, when Wayne could actually remember his lyrics,
Yeah.
and when he wasn't, I don't know what Wayne is doing these days. I have no
Uh,
idea, bro.
uh,
It's wow. But back then, yes, he could spit, and they came with it. Um, I I am like you. I really wish they would come out with another album, because this feels like it to me. It's one of those, just like, man, nah, we got to run this back, because this wasn't it. We got to run it
mhm.
back, and that's what I'm hoping that they would do. Run it back, because I hate for this to be the last album. And as you said, you got some OGs that are still making rap albums. They are rapping about what they're going through now. And that's what
Right.
rapping and hip hop really is. It's storytelling. Back in the day, when hip hop first came out, it was all about fun and storytelling. One of my favorite ever to do it, old school, Grandmaster Flash. And he's, don't push me, cause I'm close to the. And he was telling a
Mhm.
story. All right, he was telling a story about where he lived and the struggles. Like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. He's telling a story. And so they can still tell stories about their health, or they can tell stories about what they've experienced or what they have learned. You still have a lot. You guys are 50 now. You have wisdom that you can impart on me, because I'm not there yet.
Right.
You're not there yet. You know, impart that wisdom and tell that story about your experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly. I mean, it's been when did this come out? Idlewild was
2006. So yeah, it's
2006.
been 19 years. Oh God.
19 years. A lot has happened in 19 years. Guys, give it to us. What
Right.
have you learned in the last 19 years? What has changed you? Why has it changed? What would you have done differently? If you could go back, this would be a great introspective rap album. 50-year-old me going back to when we first started Southern Player and Mr. Cadillac Music when we were 18, 19 years old. What would you
Mhm.
have told the 18, 19-year-old back then starting this? What would you have told them? I would love to have some type of album like that where they go back and they say, uh, to my younger self, I wish you would have known that blah, 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 blah. I wish I could tell you that when you do this, don't do this. Come back and do it this way. You can still make a hell of an album that way. Um, but I will say this: you also have to have the gumption to do it. You got to have the
Yeah.
heart to do it. And I honestly don't think Three Stacks has it anymore, and that's okay. He may not have it anymore. He might just decide, you know what? I was one interview. He said, hip hop is for those who are hip, and he's
Yeah.
just like, I don't think I'm hip anymore. And I get it. We can understand that, because if you look at hip hop right now, it's flooded with bad fucking music. Excuse my
Ye-
language, but it is bad. But that's what's
yeah.
hip right now, and it's sad that that's what's hip. The mumble rap, and you know, you've got the younger generation that's not, buying that type of music anymore. As far as what's substance. Of course, you've got your K Dot and you've got your J Cole, but even they are kind of like on the fringes, because every time you listen to the video, it's or video. Every time you listen to the radio, it's I don't know, insert dumb rapper here, insert another dumb rapper here, you know, and unfortunately, what the masses want, the masses will get. And so some of those uh, truly talented hip hop artists, they get lost in the sauce. But anyway, um, I do wish they would run this back because this was their worst album. And I hate saying their worst album, but it really
Hmm.
is their worst album. But it's a good album.
Yeah,
It's a good album. So I would give it, like you and Sappy, I'll give it an 85. It's a
yeah.
B.
It's
It's a B.
right. It's a good album. It just happens to be their worst album or their weakest
Correct.
album. I'd say that.
Right.
To your point, as you said, Three Stacks, I guess, believes like he doesn't feel like he's hip anymore. And unfortunately, yes, the music industry and especially like the rap industry is flooded with a lot of bad music. That being said, I will say that 2024 and 2025 have shown that good rap and really good rap is still at the forefront. Is
Yeah.
just some of it you have to dig for it, and then
Yeah.
others like your dots will come out and just explode on the scene and let it be known that listen, good rap is still out there. Even like
Hmm.
2025 has been a really good year for good rap, but
Yeah.
it's just the fact that you have to, dig for it. But what I've really noticed, at least with all the rap that is coming out, outside of the heavy hitters like Dots and Cole, and of course, Drake, as much as we hate to admit it, like Drake is still a staple of this generation. Well, at least old Drake is. The Drake after 2021. I don't want to have anything to do with because he does not
Facts.
relate to me at all. But
Facts.
that being said, to take away from his ability to create timeless music, I cannot do that. But when we look at the year of 2025, and again, I'm gonna throw this list out there whenever I get to it at the end of the year, there was still a lot of good rap that really dropped, and you had a lot of OGs that really dropped some great music. Like Nas is in the middle of getting ready to drop some more great music.
Hmm.
Raekwon dropped a really good album. Ghostface Killer dropped a great album. It's just like, wow, okay, we're seeing a renaissance of the older rappers coming back and showing you
Right.
how it's really done. And
Correct. And these folks are 45, 50 and up. So yeah.
exactly. And you could I would say that if Stacks really wanted to talk about it, he could talk about the fact of how he suffered from social anxiety
Yeah.
because he's pretty much an introvert. He stays in house.
Hmm.
We could talk about the
Hmm.
time like how he did not celebrate his 30th birthday. He was literally alone in a hotel room.
Yeah.
Or he could go back and look at himself from 21 years old and how he was trying to find himself and what he at 50 years old learned and what he could show his 21-year-old self like, hey, this is what I experienced. If you make a really good point, Nick, about looking back on your life and reflecting on it. Or you could talk about
Right.
what you're going through now. Talk about what your son is doing and what he's active in. Your
Yeah.
son is an adult now. Like it's
Yeah.
really crazy to say that, but
That's
you know,
wild. Seven is an adult. Wow.
seven is an adult. So you just got to be like, hey, talk about what your son is doing. And then Big Boy
Hmm.
could do the same thing. Talk about his sons and his daughter. Like, what are they doing in
Hmm.
life and how proud you are of them and how they inspire you to continue to do great things. Or,
Right.
you can still talk about what's going on in the government, or you can really talk about what's going on in the government
Oh
right
my
now. Good
God. You
Lord.
have so
Like,
much fodder for what's going, bruh.
right.
Yes.
It's endless things, but
Hmm.
if he feels as though his heart isn't in it, that I can definitely understand. Outside of the
Right.
occasional guest verse that he has, that he'll
Yeah.
pop up like randomly, like on a Killer Mike album. It's like, oh wait, there's Three Stacks. On
Yeah.
a random Kanye album, that
Hmm.
song unfortunately never made the album, which it should have, but
Yep.
because of Three Stacks, and it just still shows that he's still got it. It's just that is your heart really in it? And
Right.
I guess to him, he said that he tried to make a rap album and he ended up making a flute album because his heart wasn't in it.
Hmm. Start
So
wasn't in it. That's right.
that being said, like I know that Big Boy is still out there and he's still, well, I don't know if he's dropped anything lately, but since the last Outkast album, of course, he dropped a few good rap albums outside of that, and they're still, they're not talked about as much, but he's still got it. Big Boy can still rap. And
Showing up.
that being said, Even if we don't get another Outkast album, I would like to say that these 6 are so far and above what any other like rap artist or rap duo has ever done. And it's just like the music that they have created is not only unique, but it is timeless and creative. And nobody to this day, I don't think I've seen any rap duo or rap group do what they have done from a lyric standpoint and a sonic standpoint. As you said, man, rap is a skill. Being able to rap and spit is a skill. And then being able to rap, spit, and make great music on top of that is an even bigger skill. So we didn't talk a lot about Outkast's, production, what they went and what they were doing behind the scenes. But as they became producers themselves, outside of just the in-house team that they had with Organized Noise, they really created such timeless music. And with that, we're good to pretty much go ahead and wrap this up. So based on the list that you all see right here, you have Stankonia as the number one. Uh, you have AT Aliens as number 2 and Equiminize number 3. For me, these would have been flip-flopped. I would have had AT Aliens as number 3 and Equiminize number 2. But that being said, this is based on our scores. This is what the list says. Got to go by that. Southern Playlisted Cadillac Music at number 4. Speaker Box Level number 5, and Idlewild at number 6. And I believe that is, if you talk to any normal person, these might be flip-flop depending on who you talk to. Some people might have Speaker Box a little below at number 1. At least in our rap circle, I don't see that. I've had people who say Equiminize number 1 and Stankonia number 2, which by all means, that's fine by me as well. I have no arguments with that. Some people might have AT Aliens as number 1, like Nick does. I mean, that's honestly, there's nothing wrong with that either. It is truly a testament to say that if you can debate, at least amongst these 4 or even these 5, what the best rap album that they've dropped ever is, that really just shows their ability to create music and to create timeless rap and timeless hip hop. Having these debates on what is number 1, what's number 2, 3, 4, and 5. And in our most cases, we all know that Idlewild is number 6. Again, Law, we still got to talk about Idlewild being in number 2. What I don't know what went in your head when you decided to make that list, but this is Law's list. He says Stankonia's number 1, Idlewild number 2, a Southern Playlist of Cadillac Music number 3, AT Aliens number 4, Speaker Box number 5, and then he had Equiminize 6. 2 and 6. Conversation about that, sir. Like
I think this would be a great another discussion some other time to see why he put that order, because it's like Equimini number 6. Is that what he said?
Yeah, well, he had Equimini number 6, and I don't see it, but you know what? People have different views and different music tastes.
And the good thing about all of these albums, like I said, these albums are a work of art. And so everybody has an opinion, a subjective opinion about it. And that's what's so beautiful about the type of music that they make. It is truly an art. And I mean, we are, except for Idlewild, you're literally splitting hairs. You're splitting hairs between Stankonia, AT Aliens, Equimini, and Southern Play and Mystic Cadillac Music. You're splitting hairs.
Literally.
Any one of those could be the first or the fourth. Any one of those you could rearrange, and I don't think anybody would have a problem with that. I think people have a problem with being Idlewild being number 2 and Equimini being number 6.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's what he feels. And again, there's no wrong answers. There's no. No. You're right. There's no way. Law, we just messing with you, man. You like what you like. You have your reasons, but I would like to know why.
Why? Yeah. And listen, this is coming from the same person who gave Usher's A701 album a B when everybody else was looking at him like, what?
What?
Yeah. This is literally one of our first music roundtables. I'm not trying to shit on my boy Law, but he literally gave A701 a B when everybody else was giving it an A. And
So what?
Nasha gave it a B too, and I got to get on her about that. But that literally got me in trouble on the Twitter timeline because when I posted that, they were looking at me like, "Why is A701 a B?" I'm like, I was overruled because I gave it an A. I almost gave it an S, but they was just like, "No, it's a B." I'm like, how? But
So
you,
all right. So question: What was their S? Was Confessions, because
yeah,
Confessions was
Confessions was
also
top.
okay. Fine. Okay,
Yeah,
fine. I'm cool with that. But no, 8701 is not a B, bruh. Okay.
yeah.
You know what?
Listen.
You know it's no, no.
Yeah, it's long ago in the past. But anyway, that has been our music roundtable for Outkast. I think we got it right. Please let us know if you think we got it wrong. I highly doubt that we got that wrong. But if for whatever reason you don't think that it was right, let us know in the comments. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube, like the video, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Let us know. I'm not gonna do the rundown because normally for music roundtables, these episodes last a little too long. So that being said, I definitely wanted to thank Dr. Nick for coming through. Nick, do you have any shout outs that you want to give before we get up out of here?
Um, nah, not really. Just a shout out to us black people, man. You know what I'm saying? Like shout out to the excellence that we know that we have. Shout out to those black folks who are working hard, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, or whether you're somebody who's out there sweeping up the streets. We all got to get it somehow. We all got to survive somehow. And shout out to those who are struggling out there because of this shutdown. We're with you. We feel you. We're here for you guys, man. We are very sorry that our politicians can't get their shit together, but
Yeah,
we're here for you guys, my man. So shout out to everybody that's going through that, man.
for sure. Definitely. And I want to give a shout out to the church that I go to up here to New Psalmist because they do have a fund that they're using to help people who are suffering from the shutdown. And
Good
then
stuff.
on top of that, they just announced this past Sunday that they're actually hosting a family dinner at their church for Thanksgiving for those families who may not be able to get to their families or may not be able to afford the family meal during that time period. So definitely shout out to them for doing God's work and continuing to
Amen.
serve the people and the people of God. That being said, again, y'all, thank y'all for joining us. Please be sure that you like, share, and subscribe to the Chaotic Culture Podcast. You can follow us on all social media platforms. You can follow us on Facebook at the Chaotic Culture Podcast Facebook page. You can follow us on Instagram, Threads, and on TikTok at Chaotic Culture Pod. Follow us on Blue Sky, chaoticculture.bsky.social, and follow us on X/Twitter at Chaotic Culture One. Follow me, Ked the Pro, K3D the Pro, on all social media. Dr. Nick really doesn't have social media like that unless you want to just follow his Facebook page. I think I don't know. I don't even know if you still have
Wait,
your
wait,
Instagram.
bruh. I've been banned from.
Wow.
So a story about that another time. But I've been banned. Now I might be back, but
Mm-hmm.
probably not. Just know that I got banned for bullying. As you
Nice.
know, and everybody else in the family knows, I don't give a shit. I have a
Yeah.
big mouth, and I will let you know about anything and everything, especially if I know you're wrong. Well, let's just say a couple of things. And it was just like, oh, for real? And this was not the first or the second or the third time. I had gotten a lot of warnings. So I'm
Uh,
not on Facebook currently. It's all good though. No, just if you want to hit me up, y'all hit up Ked the Pro. Ked the Pro
yep.
knows how to get in contact with me. Hit him up for anything and everything. Um, Even if it's something as simple as dental related, if y'all are having an issue with a tooth, y'all get with my boy Ked the Pro, and he can pass you along the message, and you're pretty much going to get a free consultation. You know, simple as that. So yeah, that's
Shout
it.
out to the good doctor doing good work for those who need good dental work. And with that, guys, of course, you can follow all of my co-hosts at their social media, Sappy at Scraps14. You can follow Steve at Scuba Steve 1428 on all social media, Johnny at Jaylee Trait on all social media, and of course, you can follow Law on Instagram at L.JR_96 and on Law on Twitter /X at Law96 _. With that in mind, guys, this has been another edition of the Chaotic Culture Podcast. Thank you for holding it in with us because, yes, these episodes do tend to get long when we talk about music, but that's why we're here because we love music. So, with that in mind, let's get up out of here. Until next time, folks, remember, embrace the culture, chaos rules. Be blessed, be safe. God is love. We are out of here. Deuces.
Deuces.
So what's the word?
You are now tuned in to the Chaotic Culture Podcast. And